Exciting! Or are we still muted?
The key didn't turn off.
Ah!
There you go.
Nice. We're getting better at this, slowly, I think.
Nearly. Well, we've added in more technology today
Yeah.
to see if things work.
Which is clearly the solution to having tech problems, is throw more tech at it until everything starts working, because that never causes interesting new bugs.
No, it's impossible to have problems when adding more tech into more things.
Now I'm going to be really, really rude for a second, because I've realised I don't actually have chat open over here to keep an eye on what's going on. So I'm just going to disappear into my phone for a second and fix that. Cool.
Yeah, I already have mine up.
And we also don't have chat up on the TV.
2 seconds.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. That wasn't meant to be a dig at you, Yoda. Sorry.
That's fine.
Right.
Cool.
However,
so we can now see what you're saying, and we can see that Victor said we're a bit quiet.
Like maybe a minute in, and for the most part, it's working, and sound is
Touch wood.
fair. We have got an analog VU meter in now, so we can kind of see how good things are, and it's better than it was. It's doing some weird stuff, don't know why, but it gives a good indication of what's actually coming out of the atom, which is what matters. So yeah, bonus.
Big
Yes.
wins. Abe got his stickers.
Abe got his stickers. Yep.
My Scientist Garage is in chat. This is a good start to the stream. Two of our favourite other channels.
This is a good day. So, hopefully everybody's had a good week. We have been fairly light on work because I was away last weekend for some work and for some investigating of new project ideas, which was good, and I went to visit Decimal Tenths, as you can see, which we'll come on to that a little bit later, to see their new setup. And they have been doing some really cool stuff, and I'm probably going to be in one of their videos whenever they get around to editing it. I know they've been pushed with work, so yeah, I'll end up in that at some point, which will be good fun. Today...
Sorry, I assumed you had something more to go there.
No. But today we're going to look at a few different things and do a little bit of light CAD work, because there are a few problems I think we can print our way out of. Now, the benefit of this is I realised it when I wasn't here, and Chris has been working, so I have not explained the problem or the solution to Chris at all beyond, hey, bring your laptop down, we're going to do some CAD.
Yep, unprompted, unrehearsed. I mean, not that the rehearsal would have helped me anyway with the CAD.
No, not
so
particularly.
What are we solving today with application of
if I just move
plastic?
this lovely Decimal Tenths mug and put it next to the fabulous PedalBox mug.
You're not having my fabulous not too bad. I'm busy drinking that.
These are obviously our intercoolers that we were making some ducts up for last time, and we've been working on and off to try and get to fit properly and making these ducts for a little while now. They are, nominally speaking, about the same volume across the core as the two TT ones. This is the smaller of the two. One of them is a little bit wider, but this is the slightly narrower one. This is the second in line. And a couple of people have pointed out in the past that the stock intercoolers on the TT are a bit of a bottleneck. In some setups, some of the time, they're just an unwanted problem, and normally you'd put a front mount intercooler in and just solve the problem that way. The downside with that is it would mean running some 2.5-inch pipe all the way down the front of the car, across an intercooler, and all the way back again, which isn't hugely problematic. We did do the maths on it as to how quickly it would take, because there's the idea of boost lag in charging the pipe up, and even running some vaguely conservative estimates on the smaller KO3 turbo, not a KO3S or a KO4. Actually, no, it might be a KO3S.
I think it was a
KO4.
3S we did the maths with, but either way.
And it would completely fill the tubes to pressure in a tenth of a second. So it wasn't really a problem of
Yeah, we're not
lag.
worried about lag. It's more just running that much piping, and everything kind of feels like a pain, adding a lot of failure points.
Yeah, especially now, having gone through and run all of the pipe work for the brake lines and the fuel lines and the water lines and everything else, running all of that in would have been a massive pain just to add 2 extra massive pipes
and
this kind of down.
It's made worse by the fact that the intercoolers that we have in there are designed to eject backwards, right? They connect rearwards into the crossbar that connects the pair of them, and upwards to and from the turbo and the engines.
And even if we'd used the TT ones, we still would have had the same problem, just with less packaging ease for the actual inlet outlet. But ultimately, they were still a kind of drop in the top and eject out the back. So we wouldn't have actually solved a great many problems swapping them out for anything else, or going for a big front mount intercooler.
Front mount intercooler possible, but tricky, kind of a
Packaging.
pain, not really worth it.
Basically, packaging was a difficult end. So, in addition to one of these, tubes.
Tube.
Tube.
You spelled it wrong, mate. It's CHOOB.
Yeah, it's yeah. Well, I mean, he's adding an extra U in, so at least try to be British.
Yeah, true.
But I was on good old eBay quite some time ago now. I had this idea, and I was poking around for another intercooler and where we could possibly put it. We could do some interesting things, having a duct across the top of the cage where we could just funnel air, the intake through that and down and in. That would be quite cool. And ultimately, I found an intercooler from a Land Rover Freelander, TDI one, which is basically perfect for our needs. And I've got this one over here, and this, this is going to sit
I've actually
across
got a
all
picture
the
of the
way.
back of the car on the laptop if we want to.
That's very
pop that
convenient.
on.
This is going to sit all the way across the very back of the car, and if Yolanda cuts to Chris's screen now, there we go. It's going to fit between those uprights directly above the exhaust. Basically, the inlet and outlet on the intercooler are going to be almost perfectly in line with the tips on the exhaust. It basically comes across one side and goes out the other. It's perfectly fitting. We basically get the maximum width we possibly can across the engine bay without having to make any modifications whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's actually made even better for us because I don't actually know if my mouse cursor is in the screen capture. I don't think it is. But around about the middle of the screen you can see the turbocharger. Well, it's there, but it's kind of tricky to see in all the engineering mess. There's a turbo right about in the middle of the screen there.
Yeah.
And it exits kind of leftward-ish. There's this silver pipe going over the top right corner of the engine as you see it there, that's coming out the top of the turbocharger. And if we take that outlet from the turbo, we can run it back instead, straight
into this side.
Yeah, into what would normally be this front mount.
Blow across here.
Yeah.
That's a point. I just realised I'm not. So yeah, so we come out of the turbo, in through this side, across, and this will go up across the top of the engine into the original mount that is where the elbow pipe on the top of the engine is at the moment. If you look on Chris's screen, you can see the silver pipe that just goes across the top of the block on the right hand side and then dives down the right hand side of the head through into our first intercooler on the right hand side. So basically this is going to be a pre-cooler before we get into these two coolers behind it. So it'll come through, around, over, and it will all be nice and good. However, there is an additional problem to deal with when we're doing this charger in this manner. In fact, it's a problem for all of the everything. If we do a dyno run, we have absolutely no air blowing across any of the intercoolers from the front of the car. So normally you put a big old fan in front, blow down so that you get some cross flow and you're cooling the charge going through here.
But with our intercoolers being in side pods and this one being in the back of the car,
there is
a fan at the front of the car
nothing.
does roughly nothing for our charge coolers.
Yeah, so that's not totally ideal.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, we also want to try and draw air from inside the bay and eject it out of the back when we're stationary, especially things like when we're on track and we're waiting to get off track if there's a problem or driving slowly, particularly when coming out.
It would have been fast. The car would be faster if we LS.
I mean, it
swapped
would definitely be faster to just with an LS swap. However, simply throwing an LS in
would the magic four-letter word.
Yeah, would be very, very tricky.
Inverse, it probably would have gone in the front in the end.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the sad part.
Well, remember, we didn't want to make massive
we didn't
modifications
want to.
to
We
the
didn't want to
chassis,
have to modify the chassis very much, so we just did all of this instead.
Yeah. Not smart.
LS engine's not so common in the UK. Not wrong, to be fair. We did actually have an opportunity a couple of years ago on a motorhome. Was it a 454 in that?
It was a 440.
No. Sorry, I'm getting my American engines confused.
I'm trying to remember.
The same one that was in the Mayhem, right?
It was a GMC. So Mayhem was a 440 motorhome block, but that was a Dodge. Now Dodge and GMC are the same, but they're different brands, but they use the same stuff. But I can't remember if it was a 450 or a 454.
In my head, for some reason, it's 454 that comes to mind. In any case, it was a big American V8 engine from a motorhome. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
kind of reality kicked in.
Well,
the
it wasn't-
motorhome was being removed from where
Yeah.
we had access to it in like 3 days or something. We
Yeah,
didn't have the tools and knowledge and stuff that we have now. So
It had become something of an eyesore. It had been reported to the council as being in the way and abandoned, which it kind of hadn't been. But ultimately, the local council said it has to go get rid by this date, and I found out about it 10 days before the date that it had to be gone by, and it just wasn't fast enough. It was actually not long before we started this channel, if I remember, because in the end we sold it to somebody who basically buys, sells and refurbishes the
they bought a
motorhomes.
welder, didn't they, if I remember
It-
right.
it
We traded a
bought-
motorhome for a welder.
Yeah, we turned a motorhome into our welding table, which was about 200 quid's
Oh,
worth
yeah,
of
it was
steel.
the table, wasn't it? Not the
And a welder. So we got £500 for this abandoned motorhome. It was a 40 or
Which is-
45 foot motorhome.
Which is a crime because the engine alone would have been worth about £4,000-5,000 if we got it out.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you who normally deal with Monopoly money, is give or take 5.5, 6
67
grand.
grand. $67,000.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right
Well,
now,
the
yeah.
upper end is sort of £4,500 to £5,000 would be in that kind of territory.
Yeah,
Quite
so-
a bit of money. But
Yeah.
you can imagine why we don't just buy one, right? There are
Yeah.
a lot over here.
It definitely was that would be really cool to grab. We should definitely do this. Oh,
Yeah.
and we went down, we looked at it, and we did. It was also February as well.
Yeah, it wasn't the
So
ideal
it
time
was-
of year for it.
It was raining. It was forecast to rain the entire time. There was just no way we were going to be able to strip it, get rid of all of the engine, everything else in time for when we had to have rid of it. It was so disappointing. But on the flip side, it did buy us a welder and make us a really nice welding table. So.
That we actually hardly ever use for welding.
Yeah, I used to beat on it a lot, which because it's bolted to the wall,
Yeah.
I can really like lay into it and things don't break too badly.
Yeah, they just chuck them away.
Yeah,
So you get these things in cereal
Yes,
packs
it-
over there, right? It's disgusting.
yeah. As John says, we literally throw those engines away for fun. Yeah, and as it was definitely a
If you could-
GMC motorhome, so it would have been a 450.
If you could throw a few of them away into a container
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
yeet them in our direction, that would be amazing.
Yeah, they're good. You know, we'll do some kickback over the pond. Yeah, that'd be swell. Just well,
Genuinely,
actually-
it would cost less to ship. Like you could put one in a shipping container on its own, and it would barely be more expensive to do that than to buy a domestic one.
it would be significantly cheaper.
Would that actually be cheaper?
So
it's
a
like
shipping,
$2 grand
a
or
shipping
something
container is
for a
about
container.
$1,000 to $1,500 depending
Oh,
on your
God.
port. So let's say you pulled it out of a $1,000 motorhome with the gearbox and the engine attached, threw it in a container on its own, not even just layering the floor with them, on its own, you'd be $2,500 deep, and then it would land over here. Let's say you gunk it, pull the head, check that it's actually fine, and just crank it over because it's that easy to do rather than having a big mess of fuel injection to deal with and ECUs. And it would probably sell for £4,000, that is. So that would be probably a £1,500 win instantly if it went as cheap as that.
Yeah.
So,
Or
yeah.
you could stick it in the front of a Rover SD1.
yeah, all that. Or
Because I mean, there's enough engine bay there.
yeah, easily. Well, the 3.5 fits, and it still looks like it's got a load of.
Oh, the 3.5 litres lost
Would it
in that
fit
bay,
in the
honestly.
T-Bird?
Yeah.
Oh, piece of it.
Well, the 390.
Yeah.
So Yolanda just asked if it would fit in the T-Bird. However, you are then crossing the
To-
streams because you're putting a GMC
Yeah.
like Chevrolet engine in a Ford, and that's a little bit of heretical work.
This is how you get struck down by lightning.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so as yeah,
I feel like
John, John, you
anything-
should definitely make some calls, and if we do
Yeah.
get the grand plan with the M3 and the Firebird and everything else, just chuck a couple of engines in. Yeah, that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do while you're over here. We just strip them down, make sure they work, send them on their way again, and that'll pay for the trip.
Easy.
But anyway, that's getting into future plans.
I feel like,
TM.
by the way, a 496 cube engine is just silly. Like,
Well, Cadillac did a 500 out
Oh, yeah.
of the factory in the
Yeah.
Eldorado, and
But it's
it made literally 250 horsepower.
for anyone who, for those of us who are like advanced, mature civilizations that use proper units, 100 cubes is about 1.6 litres. So
Yeah.
500 cubes is 5 times 1.6 litres, what, 8 litres?
Eight,
Yeah, give or
eight and
take.
change. Yeah, it's like 8.2 or something.
So like, that's a lot of engine.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever power number you want, I feel like by the time you're past like 3 or 4-ish litres, Just throw a bit of boost at it. Just a little bit of boost. It's no big deal. Just
Yes.
hang a couple of turbos
Yeah,
off
you
it.
see,
Like,
yeah, John's got it's blasphemy. Well, it's not blasphemy. It's
It's
not blasphemy
yeah.
because but yeah, pretty much. So that's kind of where we're at with this. We need to get a little bit of cross flow through this, and at the same time pull heat out of the engine bay. So we're going to mount a couple of fans on the back of this. All good, not a problem. However, this is about, if we grab the knot square. Oh, where's the knot
It's
square?
down there somewhere.
Yep, I
On
have
your
the knot
side.
square. So this core is, roughly speaking, 6.5 inches across. Maybe just a little bit under. Which is brilliant, except for nobody makes a car radiator fan smaller than 7 inches. Well, no, actually, no. You
I
found
did
one that
find
did,
just
yeah.
a minute before we came on stream. I found some that are 110mm overall
Yeah.
diameter. So.
But I don't know how much of that is going to be motor and how much crossflow. Like, I feel like there is
how much?
definitely
What's the flow?
yeah.
Like, what's the
What's the
range
actual
through which the air flows?
open open size? Like, I know you can get very, very small computer fans, and you know you get a 120 and it's this big and it's got a little 1.5-inch motor inside, and then you get like a 30mm and it's got a 25mm motor in, and just this tiny little gap, and it just screams to make as much flow as possible. But actually, it's not as good as a bigger fan. It's just when you absolutely have to be limited by that form factor, it does the job.
I'm trying to find where I put my Demon Freaks tab that had these fans on, because they do have schematics and dimensions and everything. Because I
So-
could calculate it, like a...
Yes, yeah, we can have a look at it. 'Cause, well, if we put it into CAD anyway and do some light CAD, it will just
Yeah.
calc it out of that. But I think we can probably 3D print our way out of this problem, if nothing
If we
else.
need to, yeah.
Yeah, we can either put a little 6-inch fan on, because we have got the schematic of the 7-inch as well, or we just put 2 7s here, and it'll fit nicely. I mean, we could put one in the middle, I guess, and then that would draw air from the turbo, but that seems far too sensible now I think about it. Yeah, I think just drafting air around the block is probably as good as anything else, and we'll just deal with... I mean, in the stock one, there's even less airflow around the turbo than that, so it probably doesn't matter so much. And if we were to put a bigger turbo on, and we put a top mount, what's the word I'm looking at, manifold, the turbo will be up higher anyway, so it would be about here, so it wouldn't be in the path of this, so it would be a complete and
Yeah.
utter waste of time no matter what.
Mad scientist asking, like, real proper scientific questions. How many CFM does the engine... Oh, that wasn't Mad scientist, that was Wibblewobble, sorry. Asking how many CFM does the engine need? We don't know. More than it has.
Yeah, so
Like,
so the
not more than
radiators
none.
on the front, there is a 12 and a 14-inch fan, I think, from memory. I can't honestly remember. I've forgotten completely how big. Oh, I could measure it. I've got the fan strip down here. So this
I think
is-
I remember it being 290.
Oh, I've managed to pour Pepsi over this as well, apparently.
I think they were
Yummy.
290.
They are, in fact, yeah, about 290 mil on the small one. So they're probably actually about 12, yeah, be about 12 and 13, 12 and 14-inch fans all told.
Yeah.
And like they're about 55 watt or something.
Which is
Big
actually
on
less
that.
powerful than I expected. I feel like they're
Yeah.
more than 50 with a motor that size.
They
They ought
must
to be a bit
surely,
beefier
yeah.
than that.
But so that's kind of that's what we know the engine would normally have coming across it in cross flow.
Yeah.
In that instance, so it definitely wants something within the bay to do that. Now it is going to
Yeah.
have some of that anyway from the intercoolers, which are going to be coming out and going into the bay, so that will be flowing through as well.
Yeah.
We've got the option of putting louvers down the back in order to vent heat out of the bay if we really need to add more heat venting out of the bay that way, so that works as well.
Well, I think to some extent, personally, what I'm hoping at least is that if the engine bay isn't cooled well enough, the bay gets warm
Yeah.
and ends up absorbing less heat from the engine because it's warm,
Yeah.
and the heat ends up having to be rejected through the water cooling system and goes out to the aluminium radiator up front,
Yeah.
which is a better radiator than the original one.
Yes.
And so everything winds up fine. Like, it moves
Yes.
the heat load into the water cooling system.
Yeah.
And I
It's-
feel like we'll be all right.
We're definitely not undercooling it Even without putting 2 fans on here, when you're driving down the road, you'd still have the cross flow coming through. I mean, the plan from the underside is to have some small knacker duct going up into the bay to give a bit of flow from the bottom as well, even before it hits the diffuser. So there'll be a little bit of airflow coming to the front of the block from that way. Obviously, the intercoolers will be coming through the bottom to the sump in the block, and then coming kind of through and round as well. So there's a few different kind of a few different entry points to air. One thing we haven't actually considered all that much is the air intake to the turbo.
Yeah, we still have no idea what we're doing with that, where the main air intake is coming in.
Yeah, there's obviously the option of a roof scoop, and I mean that seems like a perfectly good idea to me, although it will be a little bit harder to kind of fabricate if we're not doing, well, either way it would be difficult to fabricate. But it would be cool, always have a roof scoop.
I really like the idea of it entering between our heads. Like, because there are some like open wheel car, like 2-seater open wheel, like Atom style stuff where the air intake is left of the driver's
head. But they
head.
don't have a windscreen.
Yeah,
that's the point. We'd have to have a deflector that came down into
I don't think
there.
we'd have to.
You could have it on the outside, of either of our heads, like off the. So I've just realised this, where I'm holding my hand, is completely out of frame.
Yeah.
So it could be kind of podded on the side, but I toyed with that idea before, and I kind of binned it. You could put it on the top of the arches on the left and the right as well, but then you've got a big duct underneath there already.
The problem it feels like a nice idea in some ways. It feels kind of atomy. And I'm not to say the Atom's the only car that does this. It's the one that comes to mind for me, and I love the Atom. So that's kind of where my brain goes. But the issue that I have with it is, I had the idea and now I'm shooting it down. Go me. Is that what I'd really like the back of the car to look like is a little bit sort of F40-ish or Lotus Esprit-ish, where we have see-through louvers down the back of the car into the back of the cabin over the engine. And if you've got like an air trumpet or something up in there and like an air intake in the back of the cabin, you can't really do that, or if you try it, it'd probably look really stupid. So probably not happening. Don't make a duct that sucks in rocks from you. It's a good shout.
Yes, that would be careless.
Well, I mean that's what the I'm not going to say the air filter is for, because God knows if we're going to actually have an air filter. But that's what the gauze is for. It gets rid of all the pedals and
hopefully.
Don't run without an air filter, by the way. Have an air filter.
Pro tip.
It turns out if you don't have an air filter and you go to a track day and you have like an aggressive track day,
you will probably end up with bits of track.
Well, it's worse than you'd think, because it turns out the stuff that you'll end up on your air filter, which you should have, if you take that off, right, and you wet it, which is obviously what's going to be happening inside the engine as fuel gets on it and stuff, it actually turns into something quite similar to valve grinding paste. Now, I haven't done this test. I don't really want to. This is something that I got from a guy called David Vizard, who's an old tuning wizard.
Please do not port your head automatically using grit through your air intake. This is a bad idea. I do not endorse this.
Especially if you have a turbo engine.
Oh god.
Because obviously we'd be sandblasting the main impeller, which even worse. It's like it knackers the impeller, knackers the backs of the valves, knackers the pistons, like it just wears everything out.
We haven't yet entered the DBOS International Car Show. We probably should. I could probably get an old picture of the Golf on track, given the Golf is looking pretty sorry for itself, or we can find one of the...
One day till submissions close.
We probably do that tomorrow then. That would be really smart. As Wibble Wobble says, switching the fans on at idle would be the other way to go, yes. So there's a couple of different ways. I mean, the
honestly, a thermocouple somewhere in the engine bay.
To just have it turned. That would be one way. I mean, if it's just 2 little ones sitting on the back of here, I'd probably just have them running, just as a matter of fact.
Oh no, they're pulling 100 watts out of the alternator. The alternator that's powered by the 150 odd kilowatt engine.
Exactly.
We'd probably be okay.
So,
how about split the ducting and run it down both sides of the rear pillars and then meet them back up near the turbo? That's actually a nice idea. duct in the top, maybe off the roof or something? The
so
roof
that's
is
what
a
I was
low
saying.
pressure area.
So that's what I was saying. Having them either side and then
Yeah, in the
having
sides
them
is
joining
good, yeah.
together is the difficult part. But you could feasibly have them
Yeah.
so they come in, meet above the engine,
Ooh.
and then drop down over to the turbo that way. That's the other way to do this.
I'm going to
sort
see
of
if
the inlet side.
I'm going to see if Demon Tweak sells like. Sorry, I know they will. I'm just going to see what sizes of like 2-into-1Y they sell that we could
You should
run
be able
both
to
of
get.
these like column ducts from the side of the car into the turbo. I'm on there now. So.
I was also going to check eBay.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm on Demon Tweaks because obviously they're quite sort of
I-
focused on it. But
Boost pipe.
Would you argue that the car is inspired by the greatest cars in the world?
it is in some ways. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
it
the back
depends on
end-
what you think are the greatest cars in the world.
Yeah, the back end of this is still channeling a lot of F40 because it's just going to be like a mesh grille across the whole back of the car with ducting.
I mean, that's
What's the word I'm looking for? Diffuser below the bumper line,
Yeah.
and exhausts poking through that, and then the lights around, which is very F40 within the mesh. Although there's a couple different ideas for how to integrate the lights at this
Yeah.
point and do things a
I mean,
little bit differently.
at risk of splitting hairs in a really like asshole way here. That's not uniquely an F40
No,
thing.
absolutely.
Like it's a Ferrari race car thing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the F50 and a lot of their old
Yes.
Le Mans cars did something similar. Where they had this nice open.
Wide
rear
pipe,
end.
bi-turbo, silicon hose. Conveniently from an Audi S4 and S6.
Nice.
It's from the 2.7.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd completely forgotten that. It is 53mm inlets and 72mm, so that's 3-inch, which is basically what we'd be looking
Give or
for
take,
anyway.
yeah.
So yeah, that's totally plausible.
Yeah.
Just watch that item.
I'd want to get Winged One at least a little bit involved on this because he'll know where the low pressure zones are around the car.
Yes,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like the roof is a low pressure zone. I
Yes.
don't know what like the upper, like rear 3/4 or whatever you'd call those.
They should
I don't
be.
think they're very low pressure.
They should be
areas.
high pressure because that's where you're.
If that's
you're
where the air is
throwing-
spilling over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
but it's
yes.
more as the air spilling over and out away from. I don't know.
Because they'll be away from the tarmac. Yeah, not wrong. Yeah, so that's one thing I've kind of looked at, but I'd sort of moved away from it to some degree, but I haven't really thought of exactly what the very back of the car looks like, where the roof line is, and kind of above the shoulder line basically is a bit of an unknown. I should probably figure that one out soon, because we're going to have to start doing bodywork soon if we're going to try and get it done any time this year.
The nice thing is now, though, knowing, like, now that we've got the cage and everything on, and now that we've got the big rear haunches on and everything,
Mhm.
I can kind of look at it and go, as long as we don't screw up massively,
Yeah.
which I can't rule out, but
Yeah.
as long as we don't cock something up really, really badly, it's probably going to look pretty good whatever we do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything we
I
can
don't
do
think we
that
can-
really ruins, especially like the overall line of the car.
Yeah,
in
I don't think we
profile.
can ruin it to the point where it is irretrievably bad.
Yeah, I do feel like it's just
uh,
going to look awesome.
I have
kind of
just
whatever we do.
sent that splitter hose to Yolanda so she can pop it up on the.
Yeah.
Actually, it would come up on the nice additional screen we have behind us as well, so I can even point to it.
It's a little small there though,
It's
from the
a-
camera's
yeah.
point of view.
We could move the 40 and put the 40 there, but it's a very big
It's a bit
bezel
much,
and it's,
yeah.
yeah. If only things existed between was this 24 and 40-inch in screens. What a shame. Of course, we could always just spend that money on.
Car parts.
Yeah.
We should definitely spend that on car parts, not
Yeah.
on the TV.
So yeah, this is the. I was going to tap it. Errors.
Nope, not going to work.
Nope, that's not going to work. So if you flick that up, Yolanda, onto the main screen though, which is what I.
Just press the button. Just press the button. Just put it on the screen.
Cut the onions. Yeah. So this one, this is the boost pipe that hopefully should solve our problems. I'm not sure what that 18mm little top piece is on there. I would have to look it up, but something to that effect would definitely do the job and would give us a wide piece that comes in across the top of the head and then just drops down into the back of the turbo really, really neatly. And that should work. And we only need probably two 45s coming in. So yeah, that should work quite nicely. I kind of do have a 32-inch screen upstairs, but that's very much in use daily for editing, and I'm not coming and sitting in here when I'm doing the day job. That's a bit much, Dave. But yes, that could potentially be a solution. I mean, I do have more 24s. I probably have enough Dell 2407s to make a 2x2 grid matrix on the
Please
back
don't.
here. But I feel that would be a bit exciting. I'll probably have to lose one of these tyres and drop it down to fit it in. Yeah, it would be, and it would still end up being about as big as the 40, so it wouldn't really help matters all that much.
I'm honestly quite surprised. It turns out, I mean, unless I'm just looking in the wrong places, Demon Tweaks don't seem to actually sell hose couplers. They've got like, you can have one hose onto something like this, 2 hoses onto it.
Yeah.
You've got ducts, like surface mount ducts you put in a panel that go to a hose, go to 2 hoses, but nothing that seems to convert one hose to 2, which just seems weird. I really thought they'd have those.
Yeah. I'm surprised I sort of forgot about the existence of the RS4 and the S4 one kind of at all. But yeah, I can't think of many other cars that have a 2-to-1 in that fashion.
I'm just seeing these on Demon Tweaks. Yola, do you want to pop these up on the screen real quick? I'm seeing these and I'm just imagining those in the side of the car. And it's like, oh yes, yeah, let's have some of them.
You see, now those could feasibly be put in on the top of the wheel arches, almost.
Ooh, no.
But you'd have the problem with putting anything on the wheel arch. You'd have to punch through the engine bay walls that we've just finished.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do that.
I feel like knacker ducts on the wheel arches would look really weird. I think the wheel arch is like just an open top, just to square out the top of the wheel arch. I don't know if that's legal, but that's like a normal sort
You'd
of
still
thing
have
to
to have
have
it
in a
rounded
race car.
over on the.
Oh yeah, well the edges and stuff definitely. I wasn't sure if just having a hole in the top of the arch was allowed.
Well, look at the Scaris. Like that had holes right down into the tyre.
True.
As terrible as it was for the
For
car,
various other reasons,
and
cracking windscreens.
for many other things, like that was still legal. I mean, it's TVR legal, so
Yeah, like who did they bribe?
somebody got it through, but maybe somebody just went.
So
I mean, I guess.
I've also found a bunch of fans. So Revotech do a bunch of small diameter. Sorry, just back to the the old intercooler a bit here.
So I'm just skimming
Revotech
through.
do them in 130, 140, and 167 mil. Now the 167 I think is a bit big, but 130 or 140
Yes.
feels about right for pretty much
Um,
going straight on there.
Yeah, well, let me actually do some measuring across this. So, it is 150 edge to edge across the very front of this.
Cool.
The actual overall edge to edge with these little ribs is 164, 165-ish, which seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And if you had something in the sort of the 150 range, you're only really taking up that much at the edge of the fan, which isn't too bad.
The only downside is these ones are only available.
That would have been loud.
It was a bit. The only downside is these ones are only available as suckers.
So
That's not to say, like, in theory, you could probably just you could probably just wire them in reverse. You'd lose a bit of efficiency, but
yeah,
they probably have to go on the back.
Yeah, that wouldn't work.
Move the whole thing forward? No, we can't move it forward because
No.
the pipe has to.
Correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, we need pushers rather than pulls.
But yeah, there are it wasn't Revotech, it was Spal that go down to 110 and 140, 154. So
154 would be perfect. Is that pull and push?
they do a puller and a pusher.
Yeah.
As usual, the pullers pull a bit more than the pushers push.
Meh.
I don't know why that is, by the way. There's something weird about fans. Pullers just seem to be more efficient than pushers.
I presume it's going to be something to do with the aerodynamics of the blade efficiency, and it's like it's 90% as good, so you might as well run it one way or the other. But
Yeah.
so what's the pull on that?
Pusher. We'd want
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah. So the 154 is. No. So it blows 350 CFM.
Okay, well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And it's 100 mil deep, so it's a fairly chunky thing, like depth
wow.
wise. Yeah.
Oh, boy, that is. I mean,
Which is weird.
we've got,
It's twice as deep as the 4.5 inch fan.
so that is
which
what,
is kinda
110. That's
98 mil depth.
so that is just to the bottom of my finger there. That's wow.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is with that. I haven't
That's
got an
massive.
image of it. I've only got the total
I mean,
installation depth.
When you consider that the 7-inch one
Yeah.
is 67 mil, so it's like 2.5 inches, so it's about
Well,
there.
that's the weird part. The 154 mil fan's 100 mil thick.
Yeah.
Or like the next several sizes up are 52 to 59 mil thick, and the next several sizes down are 47 to 58 mil thick.
So
It's like you're about that thick, that thick,
This,
that
this
thick.
bang,
That-
this.
yeah, like there's
Okay,
this one
that's-
size that.
That's really weird.
Yeah, I mean you can get a size down. We can just go to 140s, and to be fair, they're really close in performance. They blow 310 rather than 350.
Yes, Maffy, the main camera is ever so slightly off kilter at the moment. I moved things around and changed stuff, and I've straightened it up a bit earlier, and it seemed fine. And no, it's not.
It's really
it
airman's in the chat.
It needs to roll just a little bit that way, clockwise.
Have we considered Noctua? You know what? Actually, I have no idea what size of fans Noctua do. I know they go down to 40 mil, but I don't know what size they go up to.
They're definitely I mean, this is what I was saying earlier about the PC fans, that you can go down to 25 mil. I think they do a 20.
Oh, they only
as
go
well,
up to
which
like
is
2.
absolutely insane, and they just go
Yeah.
horrendous.
What do they do, eh?
Yeah, that. So I've just got very quietly in the background the loop back coming back through. So 140 would fit.
It's the right, yeah, but to be fair, like these are, like a couple of watt motors. They're not like the sort of 40, 50 watt motors that we kind of like. Sorry, to be fair, you were probably just memeing on me. But I genuinely had no idea what sort of power ratings Noctua went up to, so in my head, like it was genuinely worth a poke.
So as Wibble Wobble says,
didn't work out.
Diablo style ducts are potentially workable, although not on the top of the arches themselves.
Yeah.
Although by the same token, doing it in steel, there are a couple of changes I could feasibly make, because I was keeping the car very, very simple and easy and slab-sided for making the mould, so I can cut things, nice big flat panels, join them together, and it'd be nice and easy to make. Now I'm doing it in steel. It does open up a couple of changes to some parts of the car. Nothing that we need to really make a great deal of changes to the structure itself, but it can probably have just a couple more adjustments, so things are a little bit softer, a little bit rounder. I basically need to get some steel sheet and start bending and folding and kind of working some stuff and see where I can tweak things. I know I want to, on the rear arches, I'm going to pop the lower part of the two.
Use your words, Aid. You can do it.
The wheel arch, where it joins at the very bottom of the chassis, I'm going to pop those 2 points and just pull them out slightly, and the same at the top, so that there's a little bit of arch to the back of the wheel arch to it. So it bulges slightly, basically, rather than just being completely slab-sided, because again, that was for an ease of moulding.
Yeah.
More
So that
than
we can just
anything
get a
else.
flat piece of.
Yeah, and it's
fiberglass
not that it's
effectively.
difficult to do that on one side. Like, you can definitely make a mould out of hardboard or something like that and brace it and do all the rest. But then making it exactly the same on the other side, flat sheets. Flat sheets, 90-degree corners, and then like fillet it with a little bit of Bondo on the inside for the mould. Totally the way I was going. You know, you can get a nice big piece of 2-inch round tube, wrap some sandpaper around, and sand to your heart's content to make it exactly the same, and like moulding. Whereas steel, you just kind of, I think we're going to end up just kind of clagging it in place and tacking it on.
Yeah, you just
for a
beat
lot.
on it with a hammer until it's the shape you want as well.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
I saw a guy doing a Porsche 356 front end, and it was just ridiculous. He just wailed on this piece of steel. I'm like, oh yeah, just beat it, and it looked horrendous. And then he touched the English wheel with it, and then put it down. It was like, and look, it's just fine. No.
Honestly, like really good panel beaters are just magic. Like just pure magic. Since we've got Winged One in chat now, we were looking at air intake vents to feed the turbo. Not necessarily a 2-hose. This is just the laptop is up now. Not necessarily this one, because we don't really need 2 hoses each side. But where on the car would be a good spot to put something like this? Now, traditionally, you see them in the back, like quarter or third of the side of the car, like in the rear windows, effectively. Is that just because that's an easy place to put them, or is it because like that's actually a like as far as like relative to the rest of the outside of the car, is that a high-ish pressure area that's good to draw air from? Because I'm thinking the roof. I'm pretty sure the roof is a low pressure zone.
Excuse me while I die a second. Less dying. Not COVID, just ineptitude.
Just like breathing in your drink.
Yep.
Yeah, good shout.
Just shout if you need it. Yes, yeah, Yolanda will translate for you.
I mean, we're mostly dealing in CFM so far. We've been fairly friendly to the Americans. It's all good.
Yep.
You want as short a run as possible to...
Yes.
Hang on.
So that would
hang on,
work.
whoa, hang on. That's to avoid boundary layer, is that? Oh, what,
On
through the
tube,
length of
yeah,
the hose?
yeah.
There's
So we're more
something-
thinking about, so basically we were trying to work out whether or not to try and build a roof scoop that comes down and over the top, because even then, you're talking about, I mean, a roof scoop would have a slightly longer run, but then
Marginally, yeah.
having a twin duct would have more length, or more linear feet of travel, albeit from two different sides and more surface
because
area,
there's
which would be-
something, if I remember right, the boundary, because of boundary layer effects, if I remember right, the amount of air that you flow through a pipe given...
1 second, I'll come back to that, Matthew, because you missed the bit where we were talking about before. Carry on.
Why not be bigger fans? We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember right, the airflow through a pipe for a given pressure differential, which is like whatever the air is at the throat of the pipe at the intake to the vacuum that's present in front of
Yeah.
the turbo impeller.
Yes.
Which I don't know. That obviously it'll never be more than a bar
Maths.
because the turbo can never produce beyond hard vacuum. It feels like whatever that anyway. So that pressure would more or less be constant, and the amount of air that flows through a pipe is linearly proportional with the length of it. So if you double the length of the pipe, you have the amount of airflow.
Yeah.
But it is not linearly proportional with the cross-sectional area.
Yes.
Not the radius, the area. So if you double the radius, that quadruples the area,
Yep.
but it more than quadruples the gas flow.
Okay.
I don't think it's quadratic. I don't think it's that severe, but it is.
Yes.
It's definitely super linear. So,
Okay.
like a thicker hose,
Yeah.
like a larger ID,
Yeah.
is way more effective than you'd ever expect it should be. So it's one of those like adding 20% to the diameter adds like 70% or something stupid to the gas flow. It's like really big scaling factors involved.
Okay. So yes, sorry to go back to Wingman's point, just to kind of fill him in on the two different plans that
Yes.
we're weighing up here. One is a roof vent that would come from just above the front of the windscreen and come back across the top. So you'd be talking about, because I can probably just about guess this for you. So you'd be talking about 2 feet across the top, probably another 2 feet down, and then a foot down the back.
He's
of the
German,
engine.
so you've got to convert this all into like
I'm,
proper
I'm,
measurements.
yeah, I'm working on it. So it'd be about 1.25 to 1.5 meters all told from mouth of the vent to the turbo inlet if we came down from the top. If we did it as 2 vents on the side, you'd be probably
I feel like the length would be
2,
similar.
3, 4. It would probably be closer to 5 feet. So about 1.25 meters thereabouts. It'd be slightly shorter, but half of that would be through the Y piece, so you'd have twice as much area. And as Yolanda's just put the picture back up, 2 kind of 53mm pipes and then a 72, whereas we could feasibly go from something wider and flatter above the engine immediately into a 72mm pipe straight down into the turbo that way. So
yeah, I guess basically the real question is there more air pressure around flowing around the car? Is the roof or the sides?
Yeah, that was the
area?
lead on from the next bit. Was, is it better to have the inlet on the top where there is a lower pressure, or on the side where it's above the arches where there might be a higher pressure going in that way?
I don't know where the pressure is flowing around the car.
Yeah, roof scoops tend to be very common using roll hood, cabin cooling, more towards the back of the cabin. Yes. Yes. So having it towards the back of the cabin would also work somewhat. I figured the kind of the dip going into it would probably extend a bit further forward. I know the Lotus Exige on its kind of removable roof it has a scoop that sits right at the back, but when you put the whole roof back on, the scoop is brought all the way forward to the windscreen.
Which
and I figured if
that feels like
Lotus
it
was
makes
doing
sense because it's probably a higher pressure zone at the front of the roof where
Yeah.
the air is flowing up over the windscreen.
Yeah.
So you probably get a bit more out of it there.
Yeah.
So
So that's kind of why I was thinking about bringing it all the way forward, but that's because we're still only thinking about something relatively low down. However, I am liking the idea of the side scoops more and more.
Yeah.
The more
they
I'm
they always look
working
good.
out, and the ease of constructing a roof as well.
Thick.
There is part of me that's also looking at buying an English wheel to do some stuff, but
I don't know where we're going to put it because the garage is like super full at the moment. Oh no!
Yeah.
Once we've got the
Well,
engine and
it's
the engine
not,
crane
it's
out,
not
it's
not
gonna be so bad.
freestanding.
Oh, just like
So-
a little one that you
So
put on
it
the
would
welding
be,
table or something.
I mean, a little one is still a 3 foot by 3 foot unit,
Yeah.
and you put it in and then brace it because we've got some tubes that run across the roof that we put all of the metal stock on, so you can put it off that and brace it. And the cheaper ones that are just a kind of not a full floor standing unit, and they're still only a couple of £100. They do flex outwards a little bit. If you've watched the Macro Machines video, where he's building a full aluminium boat tail speedster. If you've watched any of those, he uses an English wheel to make the panels and got talent. And those,
I wonder how many panels he's screwed up. Like how many cars
he
worth
has
of
kind
sheet
of,
metal
he
has
has
he
kind of
gone
gone
through?
through, and like he's shown
Yeah.
when he's done things. So I'm inclined to
Well,
believe
you think
that
he's shown?
Yeah, I'm inclined
No.
to believe that he's done as he's gone, but it is possible. Yeah, he did
Yeah.
some tests. I genuinely can't remember. It has been a while since he did those, and I found it.
Yeah.
But he did say that the way he kind of kept them from bending apart was he built a little jack that went to the roof, and that just held down that way, so it worked reasonably well. So
The,
if you look at
the airflow talk
F1
is getting
turbo, yeah.
scientific.
Yeah, F1 single turbos. Yeah. Yes.
I just
yeah,
don't know enough about airflow.
Yeah, basically that. Having a sort of side snorkel like they used to on the Turbo F1 era, as you say.
It's definitely worse than an aqueduct. It's the whole point of an aqueduct is it's near optimal.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's optimal from like a drag perspective or something
the
else.
snorkel. I don't think would.
It would look bad.
It would
if nothing
look
else,
bad,
it would look bad.
yeah, and it's just unfortunate. It's another protrusion to have to get
Yeah.
through the SVA.
To be fair, I suspect that's not to say you should build a snorkel. I think it's like they were on the side,
Yes. Yeah.
but also consider that they were snorkels.
Yes.
I might be just putting words in his mouth now, just
Yeah.
as I do.
Well, we're ahead of chat, aren't we?
Yeah. Now to get back to Matthew's point of
Yes.
why not duct bigger fans in?
That
Basically, these
is
are
kind
also,
of the point that we were on at earlier on.
just to check actually, is Matthew talking about ducting bigger fans? You might want to grab your phone. Is
yeah.
Matthew talking about ducting bigger fans in to get air to the intercooler, or are you talking about ducting fans in? Oh, they drag. Yeah, NACA ducts are drag optimized, not intake optimized, which
Yeah,
makes
okay.
sense given their origin.
Yeah.
For,
So
yeah.
potentially, even if you had a NACADuct, you'd want some.
Sorry, Matt.
some,
I'll get back to you in a second.
Some kind of scoop on the top of it, drawing more air in, I guess.
Probably. I don't know.
Which again isn't problematic. We could
Yeah.
still have a kind of scooped NACADuct on the side, which
What
would
is
be bad.
NACA?
It's
NACA.
the National Aerospace Committee something. It's the precursor to NASA before there was a space thing,
Oh, okay.
when it was an aircraft
Just
thing.
because I'm in translate TLA mode because of work. but-
Okay.
because we've got
Yes.
the new guy.
Yeah.
So anytime there's an acronym, I'm
Well,
like,
Google
what
it.
does it mean?
Literally, you are better off googling it than us.
I tried
Yeah.
googling CFFM and it wouldn't tell me.
CFM is
CFM.
the. I
Oh, yeah,
think
that's
C.
in
Anyone who
Cubic-
put.
Cubic feet a minute.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
It's a measure of
Yeah.
like
TIL.
volumetric
So
airflow.
yeah, so
Fluid
that's
flow.
so back to Matthew's point.
Yeah. So was Matthew
National
asking about
sorry, hang
ducting?
on.
Yeah.
National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. Wing One has beaten you
Okay.
to it with Google. So thanks. So as Matthew was saying, assuming he's talking about just putting bigger fans on here and ducting them down. Yes, that is kind
Well,
of
that
what
would
we're thinking.
that would work great for the intercooler. The problem is these are also evacuating hot air from the engine bay.
Yes.
Because like we're going to have an engine give or take here,
turbo
and a
will
very
be
hot
about
turbo
here.
about here.
Yeah.
And what we're going to want to do is because in a normal engine bay you've got a radiator in the front and big fans and loads of air coming in you've only got the plastic under tray covering like the front sort of half of the engine bay. You've got a huge amount of like cool airflow coming in from the front of the car into the engine bay to allow heat out. We're not going to have a lot of that. We've got a flat under tray for almost all of the car. We're going to have some air bleeding through out the back of the intercoolers and the side pods.
Well, all of the intercooled air, no. All of the air going
actually,
across
the side
the
pods
intercoolers
underneath the side pods
will be blowing in and pushing through the back of here as well.
Yeah, but it's still a lot less than in a regular road car. So we probably ought to pull a lot. We ought to tripping all over my words. Yeah, we ought to try to pull a lot more air out of the engine bay than a normal car has to.
Yeah.
So these aren't going to be ducting air in from cool air in from outside. These are going to be breathing engine bay heat.
Yeah,
which is fine.
To pull air and just if we are hot off a lap on that. I mean, a perfect example of this is on the Nürburgring on a very busy TF day where
it can take a while to get off the off-ramp,
basically. You go all the way through the gantry and you've got the better part of 3/4 of a mile of straight before you pull off through the car park.
But the whole 3/4 of a mile can be quite slow.
You can have a half-mile tailback just getting out the car park. And to be fair, the guys in the car park do work really hard to try and get people through as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
But if somebody has failed to turn around properly, has just stalled in the middle of the road, if you've got entry traffic, because unfortunately entry traffic comes down and goes across, and the exit traffic comes across this way, it's a really, really badly designed piece of road, effectively. Because you've got car park, road that admittedly goes down and there and off this way, but then there's cross traffic through the two cars. It's an absolute nightmare.
To be fair,
car park.
Under those conditions, we don't need to cool our boost very much.
No,
we just need to cool the engine bay.
But we do need to vent the engine bay, and that's the main. That's the other part of this, is to just dump heat out of the engine bay.
Matthew has asked.
Sorry, 1 second. The way this is normally done, or rather, an advisable way to do it when you're coming down the main straight, is put your air conditioning onto maximum hot, close the middle vents, open the vents next to your windows and drop your windows and just dump as much hot air out of your driver's and passenger's window as fast as
you're then using your car's
possible.
Heater matrix as an additional heat sink from the engine.
Yeah, and it's just ultimate dumping of air, basically.
Fairly sensible question. Is it not bad to cool your boost with hot engine bay air? It is, but this is boost that's come straight out of the turbos. This is the hottest part of the entire intake tract.
Actually, there is another point that Matthew hasn't seen, which is where this sits.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, shall I get
so the other important bit that you missed at the start, Matthew, so it's worthwhile, because we've got 15 people in chat now, so on the stream now, so it's probably worthwhile going over
throw
again.
the laptop back on.
This intercooler is the first one in line out of the turbo. So this is going in addition to both of these, which will be sitting on the side of the car. And one of the one of the main problems with just running the two side pod intercoolers on the TT engine is eventually you run out of intercooled capacity, and you put a much bigger front mount intercooler across the front. Now, obviously, that's not really plausible for us to do for a whole host of packaging reasons, but this one will essentially be a pre-cooler, and however hot the engine bay is,
it will be cooler.
It will be a lot
than
cooler
fresh out of the turbo boost.
Yes, because you've got up to 1,000-degree turbo.
Something like that. Yeah.
In and around, even if you said it was 500 degrees, which it would still be more than.
Nyax, no, the engine is not back in. This picture is from September-ish. It's quite an old photo. The car's still up on the rotisserie at the minute.
I've been away doing like IRL work stuff over the weekend, so we've done nothing since the last stream. But even so, we have got new and interesting things to talk about, because we haven't ever mentioned that this was going in, but this is one of the next bits we need to add in, because we're plumbing in an additional piece of boost system. So this is actually from a Land Rover Freelander 2, I think the 2-litre TDI. But either way, this is typically this would be a big fat front mount intercooler across the front of the Land Rover. And this is going to, the turbo sits here, so obviously driving forward in the car this way as you're looking at it. The turbo sits here, ejects straight out the side, and normally goes up across the top of the engine, as you can see. Do you want to point on your with the?
I don't think my cursor is visible
on the. It does come
I just can't see it.
It just kind of flicks just around it. So there's a pipe
we've got this little silver piece of heat wrap up here is normally where the turbo exits.
Yeah.
We're going to divert it and run it instead left and back to the left-hand side of this intercooler, just above. Oh, excuse me, moving my view around.
So this side will be the inlet for this intercooler, and it will come right above the passenger side exhaust outlet.
Yeah.
And basically, the exhaust will sit underneath here. It'll go along the chassis rail into this, across and back, and whatever additional cooling we can grab from this intercooler will massively improve the efficiency of the next two intercoolers down the line. Because they'll be getting...
It'll improve the efficiency of the engine, but not
okay.
Yeah.
But they'll
if
be...
I'm splitting hairs.
Yeah, they'll be getting cold air.
Cooler. Yeah.
Coming in from outside. This will be getting warm air, but I mean, if you think about it, if you stick your hand in the engine bay of a running engine, it's still not actually that hot. It's still in like double digits.
Yeah, it's still cooler than
It's
boost,
not 100 Celsius in the engine bay, and it is well north of that running out of the turbo and going around. Hence, you want to cool the charge down significantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever we run across through here, and we pull out of the air at this point, and then we run out of here, up over the top of the engine and down the other side exactly as before, and we run through the rest of the system, will be a big help on the whole system.
If this was the last intercooler in the system, so the boost was already relatively cool having come out of the other two intercoolers, and then we were trying to cool it with engine bay heat, it would be a lot less effective. But engine bay heat versus fresh out of the turbo boost is still a big temperature delta, so we should still be dumping, we should still be pulling a lot of heat out of the boost with that, even in the back of the bay.
Also, UK doesn't really get like Southern California in July temperatures.
Yeah, I
There
mean,
is that.
even like Southern California in July, when it is 110 Fahrenheit, it's still not that hot in the engine bay because you have a draft coming over it anyway, so it's cycling through. So even if you're talking about having 40 Celsius air coming through here, worst case, and if you go, well, okay, it's now travelled across the top of an engine and it's already done some cooling on the back from another intercooler, I would be genuinely surprised if you could get engine bay air temperatures above 50 Celsius.
I don't know, 50
Maybe
sounds...
60 tops.
Yeah.
But
In
you're
any
still
case, like-
well below the charge in here, so there will be a massive temperature delta across this intercooler, even using engine bay air. And this is only to strip the first part out before it gets into the other two. We're not eliminating the other two intercoolers at all.
Yeah, we're
so
keeping them. We're just like doing a little bit of cooling before it gets to those. Matthew's now asking, would it be good to feed air from the side pods into the engine bay? Yes, it would be, and we're doing that.
That's exactly where the air comes from those two intercoolers. They dump into the engine bay, so they'll be coming through those two intercoolers, effectively up each side of the engine, and then through this intercooler as well.
It's actually, like, thermodynamically, we're getting kind of two for the price of one on the air that's coming through the through the side pod intercoolers. It's going to be heated by those a little bit, granted, which kind of sucks. But it's cold when it goes through the cooler intercoolers. It'll be heated up, obviously, by the engine and by the intercoolers, so then it hits this one, where it's just able to do a little bit more work getting some of the heat out. Disagree that snorkels look bad.
Yeah.
If we only have one, that would look worse, but I don't know, I do think snorkels look a bit goofy. Maybe depending on how the rest of the body winds up looking, it's...
Crispy's comment about the...
I don't quite know what you mean about stalling cool air on them, sorry.
Sort of forcing too much air through. Do you mean forcing too much air through the...
Inside the boost system or over the cooler?
Yeah,
or over the core, yeah.
Which bit?
I think that's everything answered.
The snorkels are an interesting one. Like, you could definitely put like a Le Mans style snorkel on each side of the haunches at the back, but I just don't think it would quite work on ours.
It's weird because I was looking at some Le Mans cars recently and I noticed the snorkels on the rear quarters and I was like, how did I never see those before?
It's just
and they look really
like,
goofy now that I've seen them.
Yeah.
Like, now that I've noticed them,
cannot
they look
see them.
honestly, I don't think they look good at all. I think they look horrible. But
Yeah.
somehow I never noticed them. And is it just because race cars look so weird anyway that a little bit of extra value weird, these little snorkels sitting on the rear is like I just miss it? I don't know, do they feed the engines or are they for brake cooling maybe?
No, I think that is the like the ones on the wings at the back. I
Yeah.
think that is engine because some of them only have them on one side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely not cooling both brakes with one of those.
No. So yeah, I mean,
I'm
that's,
trying to see what it is that Yola's put on the screen that was just a bit too
it's
small for me to...
it's the 917.
Oh, is it?
But that has two
Okay.
giant snorkels
Yeah.
over the top. I mean, that's probably one for each bank, granted.
Possibly, yeah.
This
Oh, yeah, cool. I can see it really well there. Actually.
made of
Yeah.
absolute wind.
Because I actually earlier, while I was working, I was, believe it or not, working quite productively despite doing this. I was watching
Careful
Ford
now.
versus Ferrari earlier. Or sorry, Le Mans '66. I'm supposed to call it in the UK. And,
Was it really called Le Mans
It
66
was called Le Mans
in the UK?
66 here, and Ford v
Oh.
Ferrari basically everywhere else.
That's weird.
Whatever. And I got to say, actually, the two little rear snorkels, I mean, they're quite a long way down the rear deck on the... It was the Mark IIs, I think, that were in that.
Yes. Yeah. As Matthew says,
They
like,
looked quite good.
Mercy with the rear quarter with the back wings that pop up to pull in.
No, I think the back wings
I
look
don't
goofy
think-
when they're deployed.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of the bat wings, or at least
Yeah.
not in any way that I can implement on this.
Yeah.
I-
We will have intakes where the Murcielago's intakes are, but they're not going to be like big old like scoopy things hanging out the outside. I don't think they might be.
So the 908 has engines and brakes in those snorkels.
Okay.
So yeah, there's
As a close up, you can sometimes see the separator. That's quite cool.
so there's a few interesting ones that I need to kind of go through and do some additional work. But as I say, basically what I really need is to go and buy some metal and just start beating on it and start working out some shapes of things.
Yeah. It's actually, when you see it this way round from above,
Wow, that is some 56k dial-up worth of scan right
it's
there.
it's a fairly large image, to be clear. Yeah, from here you get a pretty good impression of just like how much room there is
Yes.
for this
Oh, yeah.
for this whole stack to live in the back of the
So
car
the-
over the exhaust.
The intercooler on the back of here, if you imagine, so Yolanda's got the little.
Now, if we had a
hip-hop now.
green screen, we
One
could
second.
hold this in the right place. over it.
Yeah. So if you imagine, hang on, this is going to be tricky for my brain. So maybe this is, hang
The
on.
pipe's going forward or backwards?
The pipe should be going forwards, but I can't see well enough.
So you need to
Oh,
turn it
crap.
around.
Yeah. So it wants to go that way, and now I'm waiting on the lag from YouTube. and
Yeah, you look about right though.
yeah, so these will fit in kind of at this angle here, but the distance of the core and the fans almost certainly won't come past the back box. So there's still going to be a foot of room between the turbo
Yeah.
and the fan assembly that sits kind of on this side of the intercooler itself. So there's a huge amount of room to the very back end of the car.
Yeah. I think
to fit in,
any-
and for airflow around the engine itself as well.
anyone who gives us abuse for the density of the back end of this car,
Yeah.
quite justified. Gordon Murray would be unimpressed
Yes.
at the packaging here.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Because like it's quite
prototype.
dense up around where the engine is. Thanks VW Audi for making a dense engine. Everything aft of the turbo,
Just
air.
Yeah.
There's the big box of air.
Is that the other sort
The little snorkel up at the front of the roof.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you've got the little snorkel here that comes all the way forward, but
Sorry, I was
no, so that's on a much later one. You want a Series 2 Exige rather than the Elise.
In my defence, I did just Google Le Mans snorkel.
Oh,
but-
right, okay, yeah. So that is a Le Mans model, but I think that's actually a McLaren rather than a Lotus.
I was surprised when Lotus was mentioned earlier. I was really confused. I'm saying I could
That's
swear that's a
definitely-
McLaren. It's just
Yeah,
calling
that's,
all
no,
of like.
that's definitely
yeah.
a McLaren.
I was questioning myself something severe there.
What did I need to find?
Lotus Mark II Lotus Exige.
Series 2.
Series
they call
2
it
Lotus
Series
Exige.
2 rather than Mark, yeah.
Right, the
it's-
internet tends to
Yeah.
reconcile, but
So yeah, that's that's kind of the plan as it stands. You are still lying. Oh no,
Yeah, it's fine. I'm trying to pull up there.
Yeah. So if you so you can see on the top there on Chris's one, there is the scoop at the very top, and that roof section lifts off completely, and then the scoop just there's basically nothing. It's just a tube.
Scoop,
yeah, it's just a tube that goes through the roof section into another inlet in the back that's still exactly where it was.
I used to pronounce it tube until I moved here,
Tube.
and then living with a
the
scummy
north.
northerner.
I was
Yeah,
going to say, is it a northern?
Tube.
it is quite. It's not a very northern thing, but
Because
it's
I feel like we
definitely
need
in AIDS cases.
something on, like we need to do t-shirts with duct tape.
Yeah.
And it needs to include tube,
Petrol.
petrol. cheese.
Why cheeseoid? Oh, cheeseoid! You've put brie in the fuel tank.
Hate cell.
There we go.
Oh,
nice.
that's a move.
Cheese.
Um,
Petrol.
There's a joke that some of the audience right now is going, what in the bloody hell are these
Yeah.
guys talking about?
Yeah, just go and
Nyack
search
gets
for
it.
cheeseoid petrol.
I was going to say, how if anyone has stumbled upon this,
Yes.
how would you describe what is going on right?
It's a small schism
This-
into British television humour.
I think I can sum it up. It's fractal insanity,
Yes.
right? Because what's happening right now is nonsense, and it's because like we have a big nonsense project,
Yeah.
and we've zoomed into a bit of it, and it's also nonsense at that zoom level,
Yeah.
and we've zoomed in a bit more, and now we're talking about
Petrol, Mitchell and Webb, yeah.
yeah.
That
And yeah, it
Webb
seems that
look.
no matter how far into or out of PedalBox you zoom,
Yes.
it's just nonsense at every point. It's fractal nonsense.
Yeah, but fun is better than good.
Oh no, absolutely, I completely agree. But
Okay, yes, so Crispy just clarified, stalling air through the radiators. So the complex of his snorkel to achieve airspeed. I don't like cheese. Yeah, so hopefully the radiator at the very front of the car shouldn't stall because it'll have two nice big fans on. The air through the intercoolers shouldn't stall because it'll be ducted into the engine bay, and even if we didn't have the two little fans on the side of here pulling air through, the whole back of the car is going to be mesh, which is going to be dumping air out, so that should be ducting
and I
through
think
pretty well.
behind the car is vacuum as well.
To
I know
well,
it's mostly stagnant. It's not moving.
Yeah,
but I
some
think
of it
it's
will
vacuum.
be. But you'll still have, well, if we
Which is good for extraction, I think.
yes. So if we have a wing up top, I mean, if we have even if with a wing up top, there's still air going.
I was talking about the
underneath.
charge air, not the cooling air.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. So the charge
Okay,
air
so is
itself-
the issue basically if we were to overcool the charge, could it get to a point where it's dense enough that it struggles to flow through the cores? If that's the concern, I'm not that worried about it because these things are generally undercooled. They don't have enough intercooling. So adding a bit more is probably fine.
Yeah, I think with the size of the, if we were going with like a massive one that's sort of 400 mil tall by 6 to 7, I mean this is nearly 800 mil wide.
I don't want to think about dimensions and heat flux too much, but
yeah,
yeah,
I think if you had something that was
too much.
yeah, if you
just
can,
massive,
you can obviously make bigger ones than this, but this is 600 mil wide at the core and 50 mil deep by 150 mil across. Like that's still smaller than a lot of single point front mount intercoolers. Like people will put 250s and more in and 300s in and go maybe 70 mil deep. And I think the volume of cooling that we have in this.
Oh, it's about the relationship between how much pressure do you add by cooling it versus how much pressure do you drop through the flow resistance through the core.
Okay.
And you eventually get to a point where if you've cooled the charge down so much that you're no longer cooling it much more with each added intercooler.
Yes.
The added intercoolers always add flow resistance and your
right.
pressure loss bit.
Yes.
Which hopefully is addressed by what we mentioned earlier about the fact that these engines are somewhat undercharge cooled.
Yeah.
So adding more it's like a normal safe thing that you do with them.
Yeah.
If anything, you want to because you add more deck resistance and you add more power.
I mean, Crispy's got a I'm sure Crispy's got a 20 valve in something, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It might be a 16 now I think about it in the Mark 1. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is a 16 valve in his Mark 1. And I can't remember whether, because it's been a long time since I've seen Crispy's Mark 1, what he has. Oh, am I thinking of a different? I might be thinking of a different car actually.
Do you want to stew on that while I do a bit more?
No,
science?
I'm thinking of Gerd's turbo 16 valve,
Right.
and what he has for his cooler across the front.
Because like normally this is why you want you want the cross-sectional area of the charge air flowing through
Yes.
the intercooler. You want it to see a very large cross-sectional area because then you get lots of cooling power with
Yes.
a relatively small flow resistance. So both halves of the equation get better.
No, it's not too long. Yeah, so it is. So there is a lot of surface area for it to cross through here, which is the other interesting one. Obviously, you have friction across the surface area, which could also slow it down and create a lot of resistance.
Yeah, I mean all of the channels in here, you've got a boundary layer with the
Yes,
airflows
exactly.
attached to
So
the
yeah,
channel.
so there is also that as well. I mean, the worst case is we just take it out. We just run the charge either back across the top again or around.
Yeah, we slam it on a dyno once it's done. If it makes less than rated horsepower, we go, oh, maybe we should short circuit and we put a pipe in and just see what happens.
What's the back box?
The back box is from a Toyota GT86.
Yes, yeah, it's a GT86. Mark 4 TDI is in the Mark 1. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, but yeah, so that's. Sorry, to cater to, so Yolanda's just made a list of all of the different makes that are in the car. So we obviously have
Missing Subaru. Or have we still got the Subaru top mounts, or did we remake those?
Well, hang on, so 1 second. So the original chassis obviously isn't Caterham or anything else, but we do have Caterham shocks in there, which I guess are technically Bilstein and Ibach, but
they're from a Caterham.
They're from a Caterham. They're a Caterham spec parts. So
I mean, you go down that road and you have to go, well, everything's Delphi.
And it's Bosch. Yeah, exactly. So Caterham shocks, Porsche radiators, a mix of and wheels, mix of VW and Audi brakes and running hubs and steering. Alfa Romeo lights front and rear, Land Rover intercoolers on the back, and obviously Audi intercoolers.
MG coolant lines down the
Yes,
centre.
Rover MG coolant lines down the centre. That's the 9th. I thought it was 9.
Yeah.
And then the other
Subaru
ones,
suspension top mounts on the rear turrets.
yes, from the Forester. Although they may change. If
They
we
may
put-
change. They are
'cause
subject to change.
We
but
could. They're only simple, so we could use them to get
no,
more
because
inline. But I'm not sure
we've
if
got
we
two.
really
We've
want
already
it.
got multi-link. They don't control camber.
Yeah. So I don't think we want to do that. Yeah. So like Rover MG, Toyota, we still
Smart
have-
windscreen.
Yeah. So we've got smart windscreen, Toyota exhaust. Toyota exhaust because it's the G. I mean that's
Yeah,
Subaru.
mesh across the back of the car mapping.
In fairness, the Toyota
Right here.
exhaust says Subaru on it in big letters because it's made in a Subaru factory, but I'm counting it because it came off a Toyota GT86, so I'm calling it Toyota. I'm trying to think what else we could feasibly add without just wanting to kind of run down. Oh, I wonder how
Without
many
deliberately
things
being
we could-
obtuse, yeah.
Without doing that, how many more things we could practically add in?
Did
I
you
don't
really get a
think-
Mitsubishi?
What was the? I don't remember
You had
anything
the
Mitsubishi.
firewall from sort of-
Oh yeah, it was,
So,
we nearly
yeah.
used a rear cab panel from
Yes.
the Mitsubishi L200 truck.
Very for the duration of about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We sort of had a Mitsubishi L200 firewall in across the back, and then that was ripped out because it was garbage.
Yeah, it didn't fit at all. Couldn't make it work.
Matt, it is just going to be a mesh panel. I have got the mesh already, and I am going to be sad enough to sit there and drill out however many 1,000 holes it's going
Yeah,
to be.
because the
they're a
holes in
little
it are
bit
just
small.
a bit too small.
Yeah, they're just a little bit small. So I think they're 3.5 mil at the moment, and I think they're going to go to 4.
Yeah.
But I have done a test piece, and it does look way better. I did also drill them another size up as well, and it was
The panel
it
starts to
started
warp.
deforming. It was just breaking.
Because when you drill the next hole, it doesn't just drill a hole; it also pushes the metal out around the drill bit as it goes in.
It's just
so.
it weakens the overall mesh structure a little bit too much.
Yeah,
we could go for like a wire, like a proper wire mesh, like individual threads wire kind of.
I do really like the
style.
F50 with its very fine.
Yeah, like exactly like that.
Yeah.
However, an
Money.
8x4 sheet of this 3 mil
Yeah.
hole mesh was £10, and that is a much better price than whatever ungodly price I'd have to pay for a small piece of mesh to go across the whole back of the car, because with an 8x4 sheet, I can make a mess repeatedly.
Yeah,
and not
which is
pay.
always a win.
And I can also put it across the front of the radiator as well to protect that, and it'll be an extra bit away.
I feel like our 150 CFM or 300 whatever CFM fans we end up with are going to be massively hobbled by that. I suspect there's a reason that I'm still looking at that Lotus Exige photo that I had up earlier, and I'm seeing how little.
Do you want to put the Exige up?
Yeah,
from Chris's
I'm
screen
looking
here?
at the intake on it.
An alternative. Would you like an orange or something?
Well, no, we're talking about.
I'm specifically
Yeah.
talking about
Have you got the?
and I'm looking at how much of if you look at the area of that grill, the percentage of that area that is the mesh is it's not a lot.
Yes, Phil. Yeah. So the SD1 is currently doing saviour duty.
Yes. Apologies, I got very confused.
Yeah. So I've got. This has all gone a bit weird because the video that I'm still looking at here is still showing the 917, which is really, really bizarre. Did you put the 917 up recently? No, I
Well,
didn't
the
think
Exige
so.
is on now.
Yeah, so but
My
I'm,
Exige picture is on
yeah,
now, but,
I think my YouTube app has just crashed. Yeah,
Oh, possibly.
Phil is asking about yes, rifle. Okay, I turn up and a Lotus appears on screen. Yes, right. It's like we predicted you arriving. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, let me just refix my. There we go.
I'll be honest.
Yes.
I've looked into the price of laser cutting for stuff before. I was looking at getting an exhaust manifold flange made up for my turbo manifold for the SD1. Even if Cabe has access to it, I'd imagine he still has to pay something for it.
Well, we do
and
have.
it does get pretty serious amounts of money because the cut length
Yeah.
on something like
Goes a
this
long way.
is huge. It's
Yeah,
hundreds of meters.
Phil's
of cut.
asking if we can do a live one just on the SD1 and kind of the long-term plans of that. And yes, once it's back again, because it's currently doing saviour duty in...
It was.
well,
And
yeah, okay, so it was... the plan was it was doing some saviour duty for Sam's BMW, which has gone back for some warranty work, and that saga is still ongoing after we were talking about it last week. It has actually got bad enough that it might be an ECU problem, which is going to be a nightmare.
BMW claimed, it'll be, BMW in their infinite wisdom and their infinite desire to sell expensive parts and just throw money at the problem, said, it just needs a new ECU.
Yeah.
It's a £4,000 part.
Yeah, it's just a simple, just put a new ECU in it.
Yeah.
£4
And
grand.
they're like, but how do you know it's the ECU? Oh, it just seems
Probably.
like it will be.
Yeah.
Oh, can you guarantee that'll fix it? No.
No. Then if you're going to guarantee that that a £4,000 part will fix the problem, absolutely crack on. But
Yeah.
I would be holding them to that to be like.
But of course they
I'd like
wouldn't
to
make that
return-
guarantee. So.
I'd like to return this
So
£4,000.
so the SD1 is still on loan to my brother. Unfortunately, the SD1 is parked up for two reasons.
Yeah.
Which I think I mentioned in the last stream,
Yes, we
but
did.
obviously, not everyone is in every stream.
Yeah.
So the SD1 went down to Southwest Wales for my brother to drive it in lieu of his 10-year-old BMW.
Yes.
So the relatively new low mileage BM had a problem, shall we say? I think shit the bed is a bit too severe for it, but it has an issue. It's gone back to the shop.
I mean, now that it's
so the 35-year-old
now it's a potential ECU problem. I think that's probably fair to say.
Anyway.
But
So the
we await
10-year-old
diagnosis.
60,000 mile E92 has a problem, so we sent it back to the shop, and I loaned my brother the SD1 to stand in because obviously the 35-year-old British car is the sensible, reliable stand-in for the modern, low mileage, reliable, warranted German car. Unfortunately, Sam got the Rover down to Wales, and two problems occurred. One, which is kind of a known bug to me, not to him, which is how it happened. He lowered the driver's door window all of the way down, and when the window goes all of the way down into the door frame, the limit switch at the bottom of the travel gets stuck, and you can't put it back up. And I could complain about this quite vociferously, because I'm like, I know that if you just take the door apart and just wail on it, it does eventually unstick something, and and the window comes back up. Instead of having gone through that rigmarole, it's had a bin liner in the window for the last week.
Oh.
So I'll be honest, I'm not thrilled. Because it just doesn't look good parked on the driveway like that. Unfortunately, that's not the biggest problem. What's also happened while it's down there is a suspected cylinder head or head gasket failure.
Yeah.
Horrible misfire,
Yeah.
complete lack of power, and loads of white smoke out of the exhaust. So what he suspects is happening, I mean, obviously I'm not at the car, so I don't know, I can't test, I can't plug a compression tester in or anything. He suspects that while the old radiator was in it and was leaking all the time, it got low enough on coolant that the back of the engine, apparently it's the backs of these engines that tends to go, if any part of them's going to go to the back, that overheats.
Huh.
He reckons that one of the
Makes sense,
cylinders
I
at the
guess.
back overheated and has slightly warped the cylinder head, which
Yeah.
is not as bad of a deal as it sounds. Like,
No.
the head is really easy to take off, the valve train's really easy to get to and everything. Like, it's a nice, easy fix.
It'd be really convenient if you had a new engine rebuilt to go in.
Yeah, in fact, to be fair, actually, there is... No, we haven't checked, but that actually reckons that Bruno may have done the rebuild. The new
That's
engine may actually be ready to go in.
So it could just be a plug and
It might
play.
be a swap, but to be honest, that it's easier to pull the head off on
Yeah.
these and like rebuild the heads than it
It's
is
not
to
end of
swap
the
the
world.
engine. Like, it's not like the TFs or something where the head is this, or especially
And it's
PC-46.
And it's underneath part of the.
Yeah, it's partly
the
covered
cowl
by
as
the back
well,
of it,
yeah,
and
it's-
everything.
it's not
But
end of
it's
the
a
world.
really easy head to like remove and work on.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. It's just annoying.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh man, I loaned my car to Sam for like a, it's probably going to wind up being a month end to end. I loaned my car to him for a month, and the driver's door window gets stuck in the door frame, the cylinder head or head gasket pops, and it gets not crashed into but scraped. I've just spent very, very deep into four figures getting metalwork and paintwork done, and it's had like a trolley bounced off it or something like that, and the wheel arch is scuffed. I'm like,
Fortunately, it is
Oh my
on.
God.
It's
it's
on-
the
it's
wheel
on a
arch is
wing
getting
that's-
redone.
It's going
but-
to get a little bit of TLC on that wing in particular anyway.
Yeah, it's like Sam's
But-
bad luck has absolutely transferred to the Rover. Also, there's the really basic reality. The Rover's 200 miles away from me at the minute, so I
Yeah.
can't shoot anything even if I want to. Has
Yeah.
that episode gone out with the
No,
radiator?
73 hasn't gone out
Okay.
yet. So I
So
would,
there is an episode due
yeah,
on the Rover.
yeah,
very
there
soon,
is another
including
episode.
this radiator swap that happened in a rush because Sam needed the car.
Yeah, well, that is the one that's due to go out. So I meant to put an episode out last weekend, episode 72, which is us putting the car onto the spit roast, and I completely forgot because I was doing a bunch of other things, which wasn't necessarily helpful.
I've
I've just seen Welsh.
I think I
Miatas
know who
come
Welsh
in.
Miata is.
Is
I've got
that
a sneaking
Dylan?
suspicion that's Dylan.
Yeah.
And I've got a sneaking suspicion he turned the whip up too much or something. Yeah, sorry mate, I would be down in Pembrokeshire, but the BMW that I was supposed to drive down is still with an E92 specialist in London with a
Yeah.
suspected
Not wrong.
ECU
Matthew.
failure. So
So
a
yes,
bit
so
stuck.
we need to. So this weekend will be episode 72 going out, and that will go out on Saturday. Saturday for patrons. Actually, I think it's already
This
gone-
weekend?
No, it went out for patrons last Saturday.
Oh, they just okay.
It
they
never
got
went
a week
live,
early.
so it'll be
Okay.
going out on Sunday, ready for everybody to have a look at,
Yeah.
and then the following weekend will either be 73 or possibly an episode, of story time, depending if I get them finished. I have got some IRL work to actually do, so 73 might go out next week, but that will be the next one, which is a very, very rapid turnaround radiator swap on the S1, which
Yeah, which in fairness, a radiator swap doesn't sound like something that you'd ever really
No.
describe as a rush, because it's like, oh, you unplug the hoses, you
Yeah.
pull the radiator out, you put the new one in, you put the hoses back on, jobs are
However-
good. But we are also converting from an automatic radiator,
Yeah.
which includes a built-in transmission cooler,
Yeah.
to having to replumb the system. We had to take the transmission
Yeah.
cooler lines
It's
off
actually-
it, convert it for a
it's less of
for
a
standalone cooler.
radiator swap and
Yeah.
a manual radiator that is twice the thickness going in, that interfered with
Yeah.
the front of the pulley, front of the fan,
Oh.
the water pump and fan pulley. It's not fan pulley, is it? It's the viscous fan couple.
I mean, to be fair, it is also a fan pulley
Oh,
normally,
yeah.
it just doesn't have a fan on
Oh,
it.
So that's within an eighth of an inch of the radiator now, whereas before you could basically just you could put one of these lovely mugs that you can buy at shop.pedalbox.show in between the fan coupling and,
Yeah,
and the
so
rad.
the core of the new radiator is 3 times as thick as the original one, and the fins are higher density,
Yeah.
and the cooling channels are like offset against each other, so the air coming, like if the radiator's there and the air's
Oh,
going
yeah, it
through
goes
it,
like
it
this.
has to snake like
Yeah.
this through all of the cores, and they're made of copper.
Yeah, It's it's also a copper fin rad, which is just mental.
It is beefy in every possible axis that it could be.
Just putting that in, and then having to locate a new transcooler, which we actually used the one that we got.
That came with the chassis.
Yeah, so
originally, it's probably the only thing that we've used that came with it.
Yeah, it is in fact the only thing that we've used out of all of those parts that came, which we went through.
It's back in episode 2 or 3 or something.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
Yeah,
we went through a couple of boxes of gubbins that came with the chassis.
Yolanda, can you just find episode 2 and find us digging through, and you can see the all of the.
Also, Dylan's buzzing to see progress on the kit car. So I've got the pictures up from Discord still.
Oh yeah,
this isn't how it looks at the minute, Dylan.
Yeah.
So, we're on laptop. Okay, cool. So as of September.
So this is what it looked like in September when it was all still back together before I took it apart, kind of over Christmas-ish.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where it's at now. I say kind of where it's at now. This is the most complete it's ever been in these pictures. So we'll get up a couple of these ones going through, but. Strong Ultima vibe. Yeah, there's a little bit of Ultima in there.
I don't think deliberately, but it's definitely it's sort of turned out that way more than
Yeah, there are some tweaks to the bodywork lines now that we're not doing fiberglass and we're doing steel. We can make a few changes there, and it's a little bit easier to do stuff. But most of the arch panels are going to be welded to the car directly because I can't see any time when we're going to have to take them off.
Yeah, stuff like the outer wings and stuff.
Yeah,
because there's no maintenance parts inside the wings that we can't get to from underneath.
So the wing skins at the very back and the very front are just going to be welded on. And you can see if you go onto a quick side shot, Chris. There is an inch by a 1 inch by 1 inch tube that goes down the front. A tube. If you can, just at the bottom of that triangle, if you can probably use your mouse cursor to point to it.
This one here. I misclicked.
Yeah, the split point.
Yeah.
Just behind the rear wing. You see the triangle underneath. Yeah, you missed that.
Oh, that one.
Yeah. And
right. Okay.
That 1 inch tube that comes up from the top to the top of the wing. That's the forward part of the wing. So everything forward of there is probably going to be welded on directly just for ease, and everything behind that might be removable, don't know yet, might also be welded on, we shall see. There will definitely be a bonnet which will open so we can get into the radiator and the fluids and everything else.
I'm looking over your shoulder at the freeze frame of episode 2 that Yoda's about to put on the screen. I looked dead inside there.
Yeah, so if you
and that was before I discovered what a hell project this would become.
Oh God.
At that point, I was bright-eyed and optimistic.
Yeah, you had a bit of a 1,000-yard stare on.
I was having Nam flashbacks before I'd even been to Nam.
Yeah, so if Yolanda just spins this through a little bit to where we were unpacking all of the boxes.
This is all the garbage that came with the car.
Yeah, we should probably put this up one time and just run through all of the things. We're like, that was useless, that was useless. Keep meaning to sell those half shafts out of the...
We still haven't,
still haven't done that.
Keep meaning to repair the diff so we can sell that.
Yeah, got a diff there. Haven't done anything with it. Need to get rid.
Hey, Mel Post, the full beanie. Haven't seen that in a long time. That jumper's looking a lot sadder these days.
Yeah.
That's my primary welding jumper. But yeah, of all of the stuff that was in there, the only thing that we've used so far is the oil cooler, which is now in the SD1 as a transmission cooler.
Yes.
That's part of the radiator conversion.
It might have.
It did. It's now just got like this random blotchy oil pattern on it.
This oil cooler right here.
That one, yes.
That one. That's the one that is now in the SD1. Although those pipes aren't. We got some new ones made, or Sam went and got some new ones made up and wired it all in, and it fits perfectly and runs nicely. However, it is in a car that's not here. But that episode is coming soonish. Let's say it's coming in April. Let's call it April.
Who knows when?
So there is one coming, and I think it is probably worth doing some stuff on like the picture we got from Jalco. Bring those down and get all them up. We'll do that in another episode. Rather than bring them.
I can find them easy enough.
No, we'll just do them as another episode later on. When we've got less things to talk about than the intercooler and stuff. And we can have that as the lead thing, and go over a bit more of the kind of long-term plans that you want to go through on the SD1
Yeah.
from an aesthetic point of view? Because we've gone over like the mechanical side with
Yeah.
with the
EFI
brakes and the turbo.
boost.
Yeah, exactly. So
Go
we've gone
fast.
over that a couple of times. So yeah. Maffey is having a tangent. Chris, when are you getting dreads?
That was no. I'm not going back to dreads. I'm no. No.
But yes, so
Chris,
they,
if you put the most recent photo that you have
Of the rover?
of the car of the pit car,
Oh, as in on the rotisserie.
either
you have the
because
ones of the
that
rotisserie already in.
one-
Oh
it's
yeah.
more that is such a brilliant shot on the screen.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's-
right.
I
Is it
can
to do a
pick
quick
the,
comparison of the two?
comparison in.
Yeah, that's where we were.
Give us a minute.
I think is that like a week after you got it, or is that the following day?
That was really soon after. Anyway, it was certainly before we'd modified anything.
Yeah, that was. So we got the car back on the trailer, took it off the trailer, put it onto the table out back, and kind of just pulled
So-
it apart.
And
so
this
that-
is it now.
And yeah, that's
I've got it
what we
up on
have
the.
now. Yeah.
Now-
Subtle differences.
Yeah, I'm just going to trace over, right? Okay, cool. We've got both on screen at once. Now, the very frontmost section of the original yellow chassis on the picnic table is gone. So what we have now, this front section where my mouse is moving over in the picture-in-picture, which I hope you can see in there, is, I think, if you see that little aluminium floor plate at the front of what's in the yellow chassis,
Yeah.
I think where my mouse is the back of that aluminium plate, in the very, very nose of the car.
So Yolanda has the mouse on screen as well, I think, is visible. So where the mouse is just down here, admittedly I'm pointing on my screen just
Yeah, you're
behind me
talking
so
about
that,
something different.
so that Yolanda can follow. So just forward. So all of this down here, yep, that's all gone. All the way along the bottom of here is gone. Everything forward of that section is gone. No, back. Everything. So all the way under these metal side panels is still there. That is intact, and that is
Yeah,
exactly as it is.
The outside of the tub is largely as was.
Yeah. So that's a fun one. But
hang
but
on,
yeah,
can we
there's
go?
not-
Oh, sorry, we're still
all
on.
of like the inside of here is gone. Everything off the back
We're
of
off
here
of
is
that view
obviously gone. Yeah, no, you can
Okay.
see it in the back screen.
Yeah, true.
So everything back of here is gone. All of this is gone. Yeah, we've
Yeah, I
removed a
think we need
lot.
about 3 different pips there, and we need the picture-in-picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously I need to buy the bigger atom. Clearly, that will do 3 different pips.
I think I might have to share a picture that Dylan's just sent me of his the state of his MX-5
Oh,
cylinder
dear.
head. And the reason why he now has a 1UZ on a pallet on his way to his house.
Oh my.
Which, in fairness, don't you already have a 2J somewhere? On its way, delivered, being built? I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure
Somewhere,
he's got
well-
a 2JZ somewhere that was like $4,500 or something.
But why not have another?
Forged, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a turbo manifold as well,
Yes.
obviously.
Oh, okay, yes, but it's for the E30 apparently. It's
Okay.
the 2J.
Right, right.
Because of course you have. Why not have a 2J E30?
Yeah.
Definitely need
So,
to do some video on that at some
Just
point.
dropping that into Discord so that I can get it up on the laptop.
Bringing all of the technology.
Oh
together.
yeah, I'm just...
passing images
Yeah.
between different
Ready?
platforms.
So, yeah, you can flip
Yep.
the laptop now. That is the current state of Dylan's MX-5 cylinder head, which... Now, I'm no expert on what exactly
have
cylinder
no
heads are meant to
easy-
look like,
oh,
but
oh my.
pretty sure they're not meant to look like that. I'm also seeing there seems to be a bit of a lack of valves in there.
dear.
I'm seeing 3 valves in a 4-valve head.
Oh, that's... Yeah, everything is terrible. So there's an interesting one I was watching on Tavarish's channel, or his secondary channel, which is Wrench Every Day, which is mostly hosted by Jared now. And it is, to be fair, a really, really good channel. They do a lot of good stuff. They've got a Lotus. They've got Lotus Esprit, Turbo, Inline 4. And they were checking to see what problems it has. It was crashed. In the crash, it managed to lock up the transmission, which jarred the engine, and stripped a dozen or more teeth off the timing belt, and then pistons met valves. And they were going over and doing a leak down test, and every single cylinder has at least 92% leak.
Oof.
Yeah. The entire thing is just bleeding air. Like everything is terrible on their engine, and that kind of looks similar to that. Although every single one of their cylinders, I can't quite say how bad yours is, but every single one of their inlet. Every single inlet valve is bent. Out of 16 valves,
somehow all of them fell out, basically.
at some point or other, they all got beat. So every single one is about a
Big
16th of an inch or more proud.
Yeah, I get you. So what happened, Dylan? What happened to your MX-5? Was it just too much boost, or was it something a bit more?
Oh yeah, so that was right. If you just throw into, actually, I will find it in our Autoholics chat.
Well, you're going to forward it to Discord so that I can pull up.
No, there's no picture. It's just
okay.
Rive doing a rundown on the problems that he had with his 944. So the 944 that we've had on our channel quite a few times. We did radiator, thermostat, and we've the exhaust, and we've got some orbits. Hopefully, we're going to do soon. So the balance belt. One pulley is completely locked up. The belt has snapped and is wrapped around the driver. The tensioner on the cam belt is completely non-functioning, and the cam belt was basically just kind of flapping in the breeze, and it was basically one step away from just snapping, and then pistons, valves, everybody meets and beats each other to death. So yeah, Rive and that 944 have been very, very lucky. Fortunately, it's at the garage where they found all this problem, and there has been no damage to the engine. Really worth talking about, but yeah. Oh wow! And the MX-5 did 7,600 RPM at 1.8 bar, and then, yeah, I bet something like, I think it looks like a lot of things let go, mostly in the head, or adjacent to it anyway. So, yeah, that seems like a little bit too much. So now we know 1.7 bar is the limit, and 7,500 RPM, and it'll be fine. Maybe, probably. But yeah, that's a hell of a way to let a head go like that. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, Rive, see if you can get some pictures on the 944 and kind of the damage, and we can put that in on our chat next week. That'd be an interesting one to see. Yeah, basically the cam belt was a step away from just letting go on the 944.
Is it an interference engine or not?
Yes, it is. So yeah, Rive got very, very lucky. Yeah, but no damage done. It's all good in inverted commas, except for one of the belts has wrapped itself around one of the pulleys. The cam tensioner.
There's a lot of unpicking to do, but like it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, the engine's not a write-off.
Yeah, and apparently Dylan did.
Data logging says at 7,600 RPM at 1.8 bar of boost, something let go.
And as I said, sounds like everything let go. Certainly from that picture, it looks like much of the head and things around it let go.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
What the pistons like, actually? I wonder, did I get any pictures of the pistons?
Yeah. Is there like bottom end damage anywhere? Like that seems somewhat lucky if it didn't.
No, I got nothing with the pistons.
Oh, okay. Well, excuse me.
I haven't.
But yeah, Rive's been running with no balance shaft for an unknown period of time.
Oh dear.
Just like. So he's going to get the engine mounts looked at.
Yeah. Yeah.
I must admit, when I drove it, it didn't feel objectionably rough and like vibraty when you were driving it along. So it felt reasonably good.
I don't know if the balance shaft is there to smooth the car out, or if it's there to smooth out torsional vibration, which might be is it there to stop the crankshaft from snapping? Because I know on big diesels, if the balancers on those, if the pulleys, if the harmonic balancers in those go, the crankshaft will split or like corkscrew and just generally get shit the bed in basically seconds. So I don't know if that's what the balance shaft was there for.
Yeah, I mean, as Rive says, it does explain why it was a little bit rough on the idle, at least, if nothing else.
Dylan has now provided piston photos.
Is there some
brand
carnage?
new set of Wildscope pistons? It's not a brand I recognise off the top of my head, but again, I don't build many engines, so...
Yeah. Did one get savaged?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Presumably when it chewed up a valve.
In fact, I can see that missing the missing valve.
Have we found the valve?
Dylan found the valve.
Did this require Sherlock Holmes at all, or was it very, very evident?
it was very easy to see.
Oh.
So I'm just getting these
not
up
good
on the
then.
old laptop here.
Oh dear,
Give me a sec, just open the original
isn't
one.
gonna look good, is it? This is going to be like Blasphemy's one where it's
you've
just
seen
embedded.
worse. Like if you watch if you watch Roadkill, you've seen worse.
Yeah.
But like either way, it's dead.
When it comes up, everything looks terrible. See the beauty of this. So we've got a little fold-back monitor in here, and it's got focus peaking turned on, so that we can focus the cameras and all the rest of it. And of those 3 bores, there is a mass of green lines in the centre of it.
The green is how
just,
tell when
it picks up every bit, and it's just, everything is terrible.
And there's the
the
valve.
Yeah. Ah! Well, that's... surprise! This is a terrible coin.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's it embedded in the top of the piston, or if that was after it had been taken out. But yeah, you can just see where it just beat the hell out of the top of the piston. But yeah, that was a brand new full set of presumably fairly nice pistons, because as far as I remember, Dylan doesn't mess about with the internals on his engines.
That's not good.
No.
Oh well. Bad times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can just build it bigger, right? Build more.
Well, that's what the 1UZ is for.
Yes, obviously, yeah.
I mean, if a 4-pot keeps breaking when you try and get, 400 and some odd horsepower out of it, just start with a V8.
No, is the 1UZ an 8?
1UZ, I'm pretty sure, is the 4-litre 8.
Oh, yeah. No, it is, because that was the one that we were looking at.
Oh, yeah, it was one of the other ones. Yeah, because it's...
In fact, if Yolanda brings up episode 3...
Yeah, if I remember right, the 1UZ is
got
the...
discussion of engines here.
Oh, there we go, yeah. It is, in fact, the 1UZ is the
that's
Lexus
amazing
V8.
timing.
That's... It must have been episode 3 when we got the car to take apart.
Must have been.
That must have been when we stripped it down.
But yeah, because those are really popular because they're a lot like the Rover V8. They're good in all the same ways that the Rover V8 is good. It's compact and very light. Yeah. It's all aluminium and everything. And they're relatively cheap. Yeah, it's a 4-litre V8 that loves to rev. It's also like obviously not comparable to a Rover V8. It's a quad cam, 4-valve.
Yeah, very different beast, but similar kind of all aluminium.
The Rover V8, very agricultural cannon block, 2-valve. Which, in fairness, is why you see 190 kilowatts versus 140.
Yeah. Subtle differences.
Yeah.
We still...
I'm surprised how light it is, given it's a 4-cam engine. Like, overhead cam engines, there's a lot more stuff, there's a lot more weight, and it manages to come in lighter than the Rover V8.
But then I think the block is closer to its tolerance, closer to its
potentially the Rover
limits,
V8's really big.
Yeah,
it can
the
go
Rover
to 5
V8...
litres. So,
when you think about the Rover V8, it is a fairly archaic design. I mean, Buick made it in, the 60s and then discarded it?
Yeah.
So, you're talking about that versus the one...
But it's a large enough block that you can go to 5 litres in it. Yeah,
yes. Yeah, so there's a lot of headroom. I mean, I guess probably a 3.5 litre bored out to 5, or, bored and stroke and whatever out to 5 litres is probably going to weigh less.
Potentially, because you've just lost that much metal out of it. Yeah.
Because it'll be down somewhat.
Yeah. Well, probably there was a 1UZ powered something at Roadkill when we went up to see him at EBC in a F100. I can't remember it, to be honest, off the top of my head. I'm terrible at remembering.
To be honest, that whole event is a bit of a blur. With
I
trying.
remember that you set fire to the golf.
Yeah, with trying to get the golf
raging.
done, and then going up and getting everything else together, and then basically going around trying to get video, forgetting to get video, just getting pictures and having to tack it on the end of episode 4. It's all a bit of a blur, and it was a fairly long day. Like we left here at 7 in the morning.
Anything before 9 o'clock doesn't exist to me.
Something like that. I'm sure we left here about 7. We got there for about 9ish. Maybe even before that, and we didn't leave till well after 6 or 7 o'clock because we were having a couple of beers with the guys. Or I think I had a beer because I was designated driver, so I had a very small beer. But yeah, I'm sure it was a good old long day. It was a great day, to be fair. But
if Roadkill come back to the UK, I feel like they're going to get somewhere a bit bigger than EBC's car park, because that blew up way beyond what they were expecting.
Yes, yeah.
I think they were expecting, did they say like something like a couple of dozen people or like 100 or something?
They expected like a dozen cars or something, and they
Yeah.
were inundated to the
They
tune
got
of about
absolutely flooded.
200 different applications to bring cars down.
Which is a shame, because I applied,
And
and obviously the SD one wasn't very impressive compared
Yeah.
to an OM606 swap 700 horsepower diesel charger.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Shame.
among other things. So
obviously among others.
there was there was a lot of choice there, and I think they still had about 400 or 500 people compared to
Yeah,
the
it
sort of
was-
40, 50, 60, sub 100 that they thought, oh, maybe some people will show up.
I think the Americans underestimate British car culture.
Yeah.
I think the British underestimate British car culture. Like, we talk about how massive cars are in America. It's like,
But you've got to
but
remember,
really, like, we love cars.
you've got to remember in America how if they go, oh, we're going to do a meet in LA, and you
Yeah.
might get some people from the LA, despite the fact that LA is bigger than London, you'll get a lot of people coming down. You're still talking about a 2 to 3 hour radius that people
Yeah.
will travel just from the greater LA area to come to somewhere like Irwindale. Whereas in the UK, if you're looking at a 2 to 3 hour radius from, say, Northampton, that's all of London, all of the Midlands, all of the East. You're
Well,
probably
yeah, like,
you're
our
getting
people
up
are
to
more
like the
concentrated. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
like that's probably the better part of 50%. I mean, well, the NEC isn't far away from that, and their big boast is 70% of the UK population is within a 3-hour drive of the NEC. So you're talking about probably
It's a
within
lot of people.
Northampton, you're still probably talking about 30 million people all told
Yeah.
within a 3-hour drive of Northampton. Like,
It's like
it's a
rush hour
lot.
LA, that's barely even.
Yeah, that's like
Greater
3
LA,
blocks,
it's
yeah.
like 3 blocks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, we do a lot of car stuff over here. We don't do it in the same way
Yes,
that America does.
Indeed, Decimal Tenths. I have the shirt. The mug has presents on as well. It was great to see you. Glad you could both make it. I did see Spence was down earlier on in chat as well. So yeah, it was great to be up there for a little bit of.
I'm raging because I could have gone in the end.
Yes, yeah.
I thought I couldn't because I was supposed to be taking my brother's car back from from some warranty work. I was supposed to be dropping it back
we were
to
trying
South
to.
West Wales.
Yeah, you were supposed to
But,
be
like,
on a
as it
rescue
turned out,
mission,
I could have
still
gone up with.
hasn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. Hopefully we'll see that episode come along at some point, fitting that Cobra exhaust on. They've got so Decimal Tenths themselves have a really nice big garage. In fact, Yolanda has a video ready to throw up on screen, maybe of the last dyno video that they put up. Admittedly, I can't remember which one it is. That, however, is an Exige.
That is a
That is a
fan.
fan.
That is
That is a
hose
Y
adapter.
splitter.
It's in there somewhere.
I keep forgetting
It might be
you're
it.
on the thing.
So yeah, so
I'm looking forward to
they-
getting the SD1 up there to dyno it.
Yes, but yeah, so Decimal Tenths have now got a full-on workshop, and to be fair, it's a bit of a shame that this has all happened about 12 months too late for me to include Decimal Tenths in the dissertation for my masters, because part of that I looked at kind of the way YouTube channels could help a business, and you've got one in America with VinWiki where they had an app and they did stuff, and they built a lot of stuff off the back of that with the YouTube side, whereas what happened with Decimal Tenths is they've had a YouTube channel and they've built a successful bricks and mortar business as a
Out of it,
garage
yeah.
out of a YouTube channel, which is really cool. So yeah, so they've kind of gone the other way. So it would have been great to add that in. Although I had an email from one of the guys on the course. Sorry, one of the course
This counts as
tutors.
fair use, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we've got all.
We
fair
need this in
chat.
writing. Yeah.
So I had an email saying that he's been requested to do a book about like AI algorithms and sort of discoverability and things. He went, oh, that sounds really exciting. I went, oh god, I've become that guy who's really interested and excited about writing a book about AI use.
I know a
video.
bunch of AI researchers if you want
Yeah,
someone who
probably.
does machine learning for a living.
That could be useful to pass on as well. But yes, so I went up there and had a look around, and they do PowerFlex bushes. So we're going to get all of our PowerFlex stuff for my Mark II Golf, everything for the kit car, you name it. Going to order it all through them. They also do Cobra exhausts.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, which would be great if it weren't for the fact that we're having to build our own exhaust. Otherwise, we can just like get bits from Cobra, and I don't think Cobra are going to have any interest in developing a car for a one-of-one production run, unfortunately. So yeah, Oh, so, yeah, Mintopia has just done machine learning stuff. It is, like, my dissertation was on how the YouTube algorithm and the dissertation algorithm work to recommend content and how accurate they are. And it turns out they are kind of in different ways. And I was surprised by it, and I was told that it was, quote, fascinating. And I got a really good mark on my dissertation, and I passed my master's, so congrats. I can no longer say I'm now a jack of all trades and a master of none, because I literally have, or will soon have, a piece of paper that says I'm a master of one. So, yeah, that suggests I have some competency. But, as I was saying, Decimal Tenths have got some really good supplier stuffs, and I've forgotten the ECUs that they supply.
Is it Emerald or Omex or... Those are the two big ones, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tell us in the chat, because honestly,
your stuff.
Yeah, just write a list of all of the brands that you supply for things,
Get
because
shelling.
you might as well.
To be honest,
But they've had a Cobra exhaust on the shelf since they started getting this. For
Cobra as in made by Cobra, or
yeah.
Cobra as in for a Cobra?
No, as in made by Cobra.
Right, okay.
Of a Cobra exhaust ready to go on to the Mark V that Nick got.
Definitely not made for a Cobra.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Mark V, right.
And it's kind of been sat there, so we put it together and did a bunch of stuff.
It's like they're here in the room with us.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we went out and I helped out. I basically did camera because screw it. Whilst they were fitting this exhaust, and we only lost one piece and then found it and then fitted it, but we spent a good hour just going, but this is nonsense. This must be wrong. Why is this wrong? This doesn't work. Look, if you do it a gap and if you do it gap, and it's like everything else fits. And then, yeah, I got a text from Nick, just going, oh yeah, we found the extra bit. It all works really nicely now. It's great. So, fortunately, I think we edited around that, or at least we filmed around that, so we're not just stood there scratching our heads loads. So there might not be any video.
A bit of head scratching is usually a good thing to have in an
Yeah.
episode, though.
Yeah.
I like the bits in Roadkill where they just sort of stop for a minute, like, oh crap.
So yes, so I went up there and they've got loads of stuff, and they've got this nice big shop, and they've got a dyno in, so they do some dyno days and things, and it is really good fun.
The shop, I mean, obviously I haven't been there, unfortunately, but it looks stunning in the videos.
Oh,
I'm really
it's
looking
so
forward to getting up there, because I'm like, that looks like just a cracking place to be. Fun day out for all the family.
Yeah,
which I think is how which I think is also how Rive described Surrey Rolling Road. A
Yeah.
fun day out for all the family in the
Pretty
right
much.
episode.
I mean, I was there like most of the afternoon while they were doing this and getting stuff sorted. Emerald, Omex, Ignatron, and ECU Master. They do all of them.
Okay. Is
So
that
that's
just on
cool.
WhatsApp or something? Oh, no,
No,
it's
in
just,
chat.
sorry,
So-
it only just works in my
Yeah.
chat for some reason.
So yeah, so they do loads and loads of good stuff. So yes, so they are also, and I realise I completely forgot to send you the pictures of the parts to make up the brake lines with any kind of time to be able to make them while I was up there, and I've still forgotten to do that since, because I've like haven't had time today because I was adding some new bits into the studio. So I will do it this weekend, take the pictures and send them up so we can get the brake lines. But yeah, they're gonna kindly make us up some brake lines to finish the rest. Not necessarily because we can't, or can't be bothered, but it is nice to
It's just
involve
cool to
people
have,
and
yeah, it's just
have
cool to
have
work
some
together with
collaboration
other
between
channels.
us. So yeah, that's really cool, and we're definitely going to do some more stuff with Nick and Spence. That'll be great fun. We've got some cool stuff planned, which is one of the things I went up there for, to make a little mini series of stuff up in their neck of the woods. Yeah, when I remember. If I remember, if AIDS,
That's a load bearing.
yeah,
if
if AIDS stickers are anything to go by, it could be a few weeks. But we don't need them right now. There's no pipes on the car. We took all of the hard lines off and everything so that we could get some stuff done. And I realised there's a few more bits we need to weld on the underneath. So go me! Yeah, go me. At least it's still on the rotisserie. Like, we haven't put it all back together and then have to
it's
climb
more that
under
we've
the
now
car.
like painted the whole underside. It's just kind of.
On the upside, the paint that we put on has served really well. Even when we've been welding other bits, it hasn't scuffed up the primer, it hasn't scorched the black paint. It's actually done really well to protect it, so we're having to repaint and reprime less and less, which is excellent, because it was getting a bit thick in places, and I've had to really go through and scrub off some of the slightly thicker primer. It was starting to flake off in a couple of spots where we like heat soaked it a few times with the welds. And Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of crimes that need to be hidden at some point and really like properly gone over before final paint goes on that chassis. But it's fine. It's all good. There's a few more bits. I've got a list of them that need to go in, and we'll probably try and get some of that done this weekend while we've got a little bit of headroom on the episodes coming. And we are still going to do a nice big long video of us putting all the stuff back on and just like run it in the background and kind of talk over it on one of the future live streams. That should be really good fun to do as well. And we can just go, oh yeah, this was really difficult. Yeah, this was a pain. Didn't like doing this bit. So that should be... Well, we just put it and just pip us. We can just be pipped slightly bigger. Like we can adjust the size of the pip over the top so that it's not just like us just going, oh yeah, tiny little bits down here.
We'll get
But
the
yeah.
surface in and you can draw on the
Yeah, I
screen
can
as well.
I can draw on it. I can use the I forgot what the name of the tech is we had at Sky. But you can get it, you can implement it, so you can do like live drawing on the screen. I've completely
That would have been
forgotten
handy
what
for
it's
the demos earlier of like
Yeah.
what bits of the chassis we've
Yeah.
still got and what we haven't.
Yeah, I'll have
Because
to
being able
talk
to just
to-
open up a picture of the car as is
Yeah.
and just like mark on it, this is left over, this is replaced.
called. Yeah.
Like that whole area there is
I
new
need,
or
I
whatever.
need to talk to Sam, not your Sam.
I
Sam
figured
that I
because
used
my
to
Sam
work
is
at.
not a video person.
Yeah, Sam that I used to work with at Sky and Jinx before that, in fact, and they did a lot of overlay stuff at Jinx, so you could like.
I always
draw
thought
the
Jinx was
screens.
the workplace that shall not be named.
No, it's not that it shan't be named. It's just that I will separate between the horror stories and the jankiness of when we actually name it. If you can piece it together and like connect the threads, good for you. there was some, yeah. Well,
What you really need is a Surface Studio. And a
yes,
nice
yeah.
big
As Yolanda
screen.
says, this is a perfect excuse to buy a Surface Studio with the nice big screen that I can just lie down flat and just draw on here. And if you would like to help
buy
us
a
buy
for the
one of
Surface Studio,
those.
don't. Instead, buy him VR6 parts.
Yes, yeah, you do that. But you can do that at patreon.com/PedalBox Show, which Yolanda may have ready to throw up down
In the
here.
doobly-doo.
Other way.
No, I was
across.
going the right way.
Yeah, you went the right way. I went the wrong way. It should come across the bottom. There it is. Patreon.com/PedalBox Show, where you can become a patron of the channel and help us with all of our builds. And if you would like to buy our mugs and our t-shirts, although we haven't got t-shirts on.
No, we're repping other people today.
I have the Decimal Tense t-shirt
Yeah.
on, and Chris has a Blip Shift one.
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
wearing
buy-
Blip Shift with a not too grand mug in front of me.
So we'll have more
All the
of
brands.
these
Hashtag not
available.
sponsored.
Yes, yeah. And we've got more t-shirts coming soon. I got proofs through today of our Fun is Better Than Good t-shirts and the long sleeve logo t-shirts. So they will be coming in the next. I think they should be here next week, actually, as I recall. So the proof came through to.
Apparently the hoodie's garage proof. Well, you just
Yes.
haven't welded enough yet, mate.
Yes, yeah, you haven't.
I've never yet found a hoodie that can stand up to welding.
Yeah. But yeah, well, hoodies also available still for the very end of winter coming through. It is the British winter, of course, so expect to get rain in April and May, and maybe some snow in June and July. We've had that a couple of years ago, and you'll need beanies for that. So you can keep ordering those online at shop.pedalbox.show. And if you haven't
Potatoes
already,
went in.
do subscribe to the channel. And we have also got our long-term potato test. So we've got some tyres stacked up outside, and
This
we're
is
doing
not
a
something you
test.
can buy, by the way. We're not selling these
Yeah, we're not selling the potatoes. We will.
It was a really weird segue.
we
but
might-
Apologies, yes,
we-
that was my fault.
we might show you the haul that we get, but we've got a stack of Michelin tyres and a stack of Bridgestone tyres and a stack of.
I never asked my Goodyear dude what he thinks his tyres are like for growing potatoes in.
Ah, shocking. Well, we can get Disco Stew, get
Yeah,
some
true.
Firestones.
Yeah.
But we've got these in, so we've got Michelin and Bridgestone in already to see what grows potatoes best in
Tyre
a
is the
stack.
best potato grower.
And then we've got a mix of some Avon and Toyos, I think, in the third stack.
Yeah.
If you've got different ones across axle, it's terrible for traction, but is it good for potatoes? We don't know, but we're gonna find out. So, yeah, we've got those coming. That I guess I don't know when they'll be ready, like June, July-ish, something like that for the earlies.
Yeah, June.
Yeah. So these tyres we also got to do that, but these are a perfect match for what I already have on the car. These are on my my daily, so these are being kept. So that when my daily runs out of tread, these are going on, and there's another 2 down the bottom as well. So so these are going to go on, and the old ones will come in here once they're basically bald.
Honestly, it's such a shame, quite how much tread there is on some of the ones that we managed to pick up because we've got swapped over.
Yeah,
When
it's
you-
surprising how much tread people just get swapped off cars every now and again. It's weird. So part of me says we should sort of sell those ones on and get some proper bold ones that people have really done some terrible things to. It's just and get some like racing slicks and stuff and see if slicks make potatoes grow faster.
You've also got to test cross ply versus radials.
Yeah, yeah, drag slicks, you know, drag radials, you know, what's this gonna do? Potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a tyre. Yeah, exactly right. That is precisely what we need. But we have been streaming for just over 2 hours now, and I have a little bit of IRL work that I need to do this evening
Shall we,
to meet some deadlines. So we're probably going to have to sign off soon. So
I'm wondering, do we part with one little teaser of SD1
no,
stuff?
no,
We'll keep that.
No, keep it.
I've
keep
got
that to
a
do
wonderful image of the SD1 concept on my laptop that we're.
Yeah, no, we'll tease that we have it, and we'll do
Yeah.
that maybe next week. We can do next week. Screw it, next week.
What is
we'll
if
do
I
some
have no
more
control
stuff.
over this? If Adrian and Yola say it's not going on the screen, it's not going on the
Yeah.
fucking screen, no
Yeah.
matter how
No,
much.
no, I mean, I have all the power.
Yeah,
I
true.
want to do
Nearly
it.
all.
Oh no,
I
Aid has
have
the control
some.
board as well.
Yeah, I can just like tap space and just
Yeah.
slap it back. So, but yeah, next week we will open with some cool SD1 artwork
Yeah.
and some of the kind of long-term aero and long-term visuals.
Yes.
Time for the 30-minute sign-off. Yes, yes it is, Matthew. It's time for the 30-minute sign-off.
Time for bed, said Zebedee.
Give or take. But yeah.
If anyone else has photos that they want to see on the
Yeah,
screen,
so
they
one
can
of the
send
other
them.
things I was thinking of doing, as I say, we had decimal tenths on this one. What I think I'm going to do each episode, live is run through one of the other channels that I follow of the other small kind of YouTube. Obviously, we mentioned people like Tavarish and people sort of in passing.
They don't
when it
need
matters,
the extra publicity.
but they
Yeah.
really don't need the extra. But well, I mean, Wrench Every Day does, because it's like 200k versus the 1.2 million that
Yeah, I
Tavarish
mean,
does.
but-
So there's like
yeah.
definitely a scale drop. And to be fair, Wrench Every Day does have a lot of really cool projects on, much more in our kind of level of builds rather than
Inept. He's
Yeah.
trying to say inept.
just bad. Well, it's, I mean, their strapline is make questionable choices. I think that's
We embody
totally
that
our
pretty
brand.
well. Yeah, that's kind of
And
our
they
lane.
have a shop dog.
And
Everyone
Pyrrha
needs
is,
to-
Pyrrha
yeah,
is
okay,
a really
that's-
good shop dog. Although how Pyrrha
I'd say
stays
the concept
white-
just because shop log.
Yeah, how Pyrrha stays white, I don't know, but nevertheless. So we're going to go through, and I think we're going to try and feature another channel each week. So we've had Decimal Tenths this week, maybe do like number 27 next week, because he did put out a panicked request. I'm going to throw the request out right now. I meant to do it high up. Just in case, on the off chance that anybody knows where you can find a Ferrari 308 GTS head, because his is ruined. Yolanda, if you want to throw
I think
off-
I've got a spare one in the garage. I
Yes.
was going through. I got a job lot of random
Yeah.
Ferrari bits on eBay
So if
for
you
like
put-
50p and some belly button fluff the other day.
Yeah, so if you pop up number 27, yeah, that's still decimal.
I know.
Yeah,
That
so
still does that.
yeah, so if you just play that through, yeah, this is his
This is still not my day job.
Influenzo Ferrari. It's a 308 GTS, and it's not just blown ahead, but actually cracked ahead to the point of ruination, and it needs a complete new head. There is no saving it, no welding
Yeah.
it.
So if any of
And
you have
he
a
did
spare
say-
Ferrari 308 cylinder
Yeah.
head down the back of your couch,
Or more importantly, anybody who knows somebody that might be in that business, like our next door neighbour Calvin is in, and I need to get on to him and
he's
see
a
if he
TVR. Used to be a TVR
used to be
specialist. is
TVR,
now a-
but now works for
historic race car.
historic automobiles, so actually might have some good contacts. And I did say that I would shout out on the channel, and it's a bit bad that I've waited till 2 hours into the live stream to do this, but yeah, we'll put a thing up on them because they've also reviewed a couple of the cars that we've seen or certainly one of the cars that we've seen at Retro Rides Gathering last year, which also Retro Rides Weekender is potentially still happening this year, the 29th and 30th of July, which, all being well with restrictions lifting, we are hoping to get down to.
If I've had my vaccine by then, which I should have, I'll probably be willing to.
Yes, yeah, I definitely will have, because I'm older than he is, so I will certainly have had mine based on the current, like,
given where we're going.
Extrapolating out, even with the dip in supply they're talking about, I'm almost certain I will have had mine probably by the end of May, and that's roughly when they're doing it. So I'm hoping that I'll be able to get down to that, which would be really, really good to get some more video. And if everything else comes off, so much the better. So yeah, that's the plan, and I think we should start featuring a couple other channels and doing some more stuff and trying to build up a whole community.
I promise, I'm not saying this from a selfish perspective because they've got more followers than us. So like, if we go from 1 for 1 on trades, we end up like
if we get a bit of cross pollination,
like jokes aside, like it is genuinely just cool. Like the decimal tens lads, I haven't spoken to you guys, sorry, but like the videos you make are amazing. The shop you've built is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to getting the Rover up there to dyno it and tune it and stuff.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And
good fun.
You know.
Not as much.
Oh, it's not as much as the Thunderbird.
No, the Rover's actually not bad on fuel. When it's running good, it's like 35 per gallon.
Yeah, it's still over 200 quid to get the Thunderbird up there and back. So yeah. That's what we need to do. We're going to start featuring a few other people and going down a few more routes again. And just because we didn't get to anything, obviously, last year, so we couldn't have any kind of PedalBox on tour videos after the only one that we did get, which was zip ties. So yeah, we'll try and get that and sort of move some stuff across and just try and showcase some things. Actually, the guy that was the course leader kept, on my MA kept on trying to push me towards making some sort of EPG system for YouTube to showcase lots of other channels, and I've kind of got an idea, but I think making just a nice homepage that shows like your surrounding of channels. It's all well and good if you look on. This is how bad. Yeah, that's how bad the head went.
Do you want to just wind that back?
Just wind that back. This is how bad.
Don't mind us just bouncing from subject to subject like a ping pong ball.
This is how bad the head was on the 308. Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Everything is awful.
I have seen more come out of it,
but damn. So I think as much as the YouTube community page, which actually, Yolanda, if you put up the PedalBox one, you'll see our YouTube channels page has a few people added on, and I need to add some more in. But I accept this is not part of the plan, and it probably will take a minute for Yolanda to find what I'm looking for. Just go on the YouTube. So if you go to the PedalBox page. No, don't switch account. Go just Google or search PedalBox.
Well, it is Google under the hood.
It is Google under the hood, I guess. But if you just search for PedalBox, you'll see that we come up top of the tree.
Which you'd expect, really.
You would hope.
Yeah.
And then if you go onto the channels tab, you will see the other channels that we feature. And then if we skip that on, you'll see we have Mad Scientist, Blacklist Garage, which is one that I'm doing with Van.
Oh, is that the M3?
Flying Sparks, Finnegan's and Vice Grip, which are just some other sort of good big channels that I follow, and I need to add a bunch more in there. But
we need to get more of the smaller ones on there at the minute, because they're all relatively... Well, actually, no, Mad Scientist isn't very big, but the rest of them...
Yeah, we need to get... hopefully, I'm going to go through and make some sort of community hub page that we can have where we spawn up and go, these are all of the other channels that we associate with or like endorse to some degree, rather than just having this page have a bigger, better portal, which I guess maybe Mintopia can help with trying to build. I'm sure she'll be thrilled with that. Yes, yeah, exactly. And we can have this nice portal that will go to other channels that are associated with us. So we can put number 27 up, we can put decimal tenths up, and just have something a bit bigger. Because I know Chris is pretty swamped with work, and me just going, hey Chris, make more things. You still want to build a bigger PedalBox website.
In a sensible world, we wouldn't need to build anything at all, because that YouTube would be federated, and we could retweet effectively other people's stuff into our viewers' timelines. Like, that's how things should work.
You can to a degree through the community tab, but because the community tab was so phenomenally unpopular, despite the fact that they pushed it and built it and built it and built it to try and like weight it heavier and heavier to do.
Oh, the algorithm hacks that are possible with
yes,
community.
yeah, exactly. I am trying to lean into that. So if you see a post from us, do like and do like and comment and interact on
interacting with the
tab.
community stuff is worth something ridiculous like 10 times as much as a normal interaction. Like a like or a comment on that is way higher value than on anything
absolutely
else.
mental. And if you vote in the poll, comment and like the post as well, that's like a triple boost. It almost goes quadratic.
I feel dirty asking for all of this stuff. I genuinely, every time we say like, share, and subscribe, it hurts me inside.
I don't.
We have to play the game.
But
well, we don't have to. Like, if we want, like, my thing is, I want more people to see us building this car, so that they are inspired to do stupid things as well.
Basically.
And if I want more people to see our stupid projects and be inspired to do their own stupid projects,
exactly.
the way we do that is by playing the game.
Yeah, exactly. It is like that mentality. I'm trying to sort of lean on it and put out a couple of posts a week. I'm not, because I even forgot to do the one for the stream tonight. But that's the plan. Like, do a couple a week, not just spam and spam and spam, but basically that is a problem. We can link other things into the community tab, but the community tab itself doesn't actually get to that many additional people. Whereas if
that's
you
kind of the problem, is the general visibility of it.
Whereas if we have a portal page that we can use and that other people can build into their own and then do us, then it will kind of grow and grow and grow and grow. And maybe this can become something alongside PedalBox that can help lots of people who are smaller grow. Like, it's not going to help Finnegan and Vice Grip and people of that kind of scale, but if you're like under yes, it is a 10-minute sign-off, thank you, Yolanda. If it can help people like under the 10k threshold to build and kind of grow and build a bigger community, that is really good. And that would be a good, useful tool for lots of people to have, and hopefully it would integrate with the community tab and build in and do good things, and it would be a really nice kind of addition to have. And because I have the kind of the idea and the means to do this with a bunch of people around me, it would be good to give back. And it's a good way to give back to the communities to help other people cross-pollinate and make things bigger.
It kind of bugs me that YouTube has eaten the video world, because actually what you're describing is literally by design the PeerTube timeline. And that's not to say that we should be on PeerTube, right? If we were on PeerTube on YouTube, no one would see anything we make because it's so unpopular. But in principle, what you're describing is that. And it's like, we're talking about, wouldn't it be wonderful if this existed for YouTube? It's like, it does, but unfortunately,
it does
and
to a
it's kind
degree.
of a tragedy.
Yeah, you need something that sits across the top, or at least adjacent to YouTube, rather than being an alternative to YouTube. It needs to be adjacent.
It needs to use YouTube.
And it needs to interact, and you need to lean on the big thing. Like, there's a reason people say, oh, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps. There's a reason people share things to Facebook and Instagram and use hashtags and Twitter and all of the rest of these things. It's because it does spread awareness. Awareness. Exposure box. And it does.
It shouldn't have to, but it's the
about,
world we're in. We're playing by other people's rules. So
ultimately, it's the same as any business. You have to advertise. You have to try and get your name out there by some means. And YouTube is the biggest, fattest channel to advertise on. It also happens to be where you're dumping all of the things onto. It's like having a product and selling it on Amazon.
Yeah, sorry, I think we're peaking a lot, which is where the crackling's coming from.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, weirdly it has...
Have you turned it up or something, or something?
So more... sorry, what... So, this... Okay, just as a complete aside, mid-sign-off, just... We'll jump off on one. Have you noticed all of a sudden that our VU meter is in sync on left and right channels?
Not quite, the right looks louder.
But nowhere near as far.
Not bad,
yeah, so before we have this nice little VU meter, like proper hardware
analog VU meter. It's quite nice actually watching the...
And it takes the final output from the Blackmagic hardware before it goes into OBS and goes out to YouTube. We have a visual representation of what the audio levels are like. And before, one channel was massively peaking erroneously, and the other channel was just kind of lifting reasonably well. Yes. Yeah. So that is
Okay.
pre-OBS. So it's
Okay.
literally the output from the Blackmagic goes in
Because
through
that's still peaking.
through that and goes through. But yeah, they were kind of off by one notch, which was a bit weird. And now they're almost in sync, but both peaking, and I have no idea what's happening. We haven't changed anything.
So mid DMD.
Yes. Yeah, this is it's all Blackmagic in this room, Mintopia.
Yeah, I wonder if we were peaking before whatever it was that Yola turned down. Like the peaking was going into that input, and we've just turned down a signal that still has hard pucks on the top and bottom.
It's just fuzzy.
Okay.
Oh, maybe something's
Well, I mean, peaking does sound fuzzy.
weird. That's okay. Well,
Clipping and distortion. Yeah.
how bizarre. In which case, if you pull the slider down, because I know we're overamping on the slider, on the mixer slightly.
Yeah, Matthew said that's just why.
Okay, yeah. When you said you turned the volume down, did you do that in OBS?
No.
Okay. Curious. Why did you turn it down? Okay, yeah, that's probably not going to
Well,
help.
if it's like radio interference, no, that's not clipping, I don't think.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay,
Yeah.
well, this is going to be something to fix for next time. Yeah, there you go.
Well, whatever
Yeah.
we just did sorted it. So.
Okay, so if Yolanda puts it back up again now, because I can see that we're down a little bit low, so if you lift it up slightly more, because we're now
But if we do
quiet.
that in OBS, turn it back up. Because we don't want to re-add whatever clipping we just put in. We want to take the we want to take the now
Yes.
smaller signal and blow it up, rather than taking a clipped signal and blow it up.
Yes, but
Yeah.
we know it's not clipping
Yeah.
out through that, and
Yeah.
nothing else has changed.
Oh, okay.
Then the screen,
What?
it's crackling at the same rate that it's flickering.
Oh, is it maybe interference?
On the script, like the
Shouldn't be
just a
electrical,
thought.
because literally everything is coming off the same 2 plugs
No,
in
I-
this room.
Yeah.
Or maybe 3 plugs, actually. But yeah.
Hope
Um,
fix for next time, because
yeah.
now it's tech chat.
Is that a problem?
Yeah. So
I
yeah.
mean, we have got MIMs.
I mean,
Yeah.
at risk of sounding ungrateful, if someone doesn't want to watch tech chat, they're welcome to simply not watch.
Yeah. We are kind of tailing off here. We're on a 15-minute sign-off at this point. But yes, so this is well, I've forgotten much of what I was saying before.
It's like we got through most of it. I had my little rant about the state of the internet.
Yes,
With
sorry, that's what I was saying.
YouTube
So yeah,
monopolising
it's
the
the
video.
same thing as whatever you're advertising, you have to go onto the biggest possible channel. It's like if you're selling food, you go into a supermarket, not just the local butchers necessarily. You have to find the biggest market to try and get more customers, basically. And unfortunately, that is YouTube. It is what it is. It does the job, but having something that sits alongside it
Yeah.
and piggybacks and uses what it has to create a bigger, better effect is really something I quite like to make. And it would eventually fit in with what my course leader was like jabbing at me to do for my final business presentation, but didn't want to. So yeah, whoops. It only took me until I'd completely finished the course to have this idea, so timing. Never mind. But yeah, that is kind of where we are at now. What we really should be doing is actually properly signing off so that everybody watching can go to bed. as
Watch our
well as
videos, buy our
us.
stuff. Good night.
Yeah.
I love you.
Do watch our videos, subscribe to the channel, buy our stuff, subscribe on Patreon, do all of these nice things.
Check
and
out our friends.
tell
Decimal
your
Tenths,
friends.
Not 2 grand.
Yes.
Classic Britain.
Yeah, Classic Britain, number
Mad
20.
Scientist Garage, number 27.
Number 27, and try and find him a Ferrari
Yeah.
3. If nothing else, you can go to your friends and go, hey, do you know anybody that's got a Ferrari 308 GTS forward head? And they'll go, what? And it's a nice thing to talk around with the old virtual water cooler, which I guess you can't do in the office anymore. But yeah, put the word out nonetheless, and subscribe to more people.
All of them.
Yeah,
Us.
all
Us
of them.
first, and all of them as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, do that. So
And also,
anyway,
go on their Patreons, but ours first.
Yes.
Buy their merch, but ours,
ours first. Yeah. Lovely things. Yeah, so hopefully next week, well, depending on whether or not that BMW is finished and whether
Oh,
or not
God.
you have to deliver it back Easter weekend to Sam so he can actually get back.
I really
on his
hope
round.
I really hope it goes back Easter weekend.
God, I hope it's done before then. Not because like I want rid of you, that would be a bit harsh. But
Well, I
it
mean,
would
you
be
know I'm
nice.
coming back not long after,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when I go,
It would be
it's
nice
like,
to
do I go
end
then,
the
or
Saga and also have the SD1 back so we can do a few
well,
bits.
there's that. I mean, it'd be nice for me to have the Rover back,
Yeah.
but also he needs it for
needs
his
a car.
pizza round. It is his income.
He literally needs it for his job, so yeah, we need to sort that. I also need to sort this squeaky chair, which I haven't since last week, so go me, told you I wouldn't do it. But yeah, if Chris is still here next Wednesday, we will do a stream, especially if it looks like
No
he's
offense,
heading
but
back.
hopefully I won't be.
Yeah, heading back on the Thursday. If he's not here, hey, it means that the BMW is done and the Rover is on its way back soon. But I will do a stream where maybe I will just sit, chat, and build this lovely Lego Senna, or perhaps just do this limited edition MCM jigsaw and chat rubbish to all of you about kind of the things that we did over the weekend. But you won't find that out until next week on either Wednesday or Thursday because we have no idea when we're going to schedule it. But
We usually figure it out on the evening.
yeah,
I'll walk down, and you'll usually have the answer, but I'll walk down from upstairs and go, stream tonight? Stream tonight.
yeah,
And
because
then-
I'll be putting this room together again.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for watching. If you've stuck all the way from the beginning to the end, I can see there are still 12
Well, I
people
mean, thank you
watching.
for watching regardless
Thank you
of how
very
long you
much.
stuck around.
Every
But,
single minute that you watched does help us. I hope we've been entertaining, and we'll see you next time. And now the question is whether or not we're going to end the stream really quickly, or whether or not
Or whether we're
it's
just
going
going
to
to tail off forever and it'll be like
Yeah.
mid-sentence or
And it'll
something.
just-
But, oh no, I'm watching the end
Yeah.
button.
Yeah, I'm
I know
watching-
when it's going to happen.
It's going to be clicked.
Yoda's
It's
counting us
gonna
down.
be now.
Bye.